I don't want to scare anyone. I'm gonna give it to you straight about Filmoscopy. It's a pretty shitty show with three white kids that talk about movies. One of them likes Tim Burton, and the guy I can't remember the fuck his name. He did Spider-Man and Evil Dead. Doesn't matter. He's also a Titans fan, so he's a loser. The other one likes Russian World War II movies, and he hates incels. And the other one is obsessed with Hanzo Hasashi from Mortal Kombat, and he's pretty fat. But you bring them together, you create one terrible podcast show that can bring the world down. Cody, I'm going to introduce you as the first entrant of this battle royale.
Hello.
Okay, that was pretty weak. All right, Owen.
Hi, everybody. How's that?
That's very Tim Burton-y. So I don't know which one likes Tim Burton, which one doesn't. And our fourth guest today is a Jaguars fan, and he likes professional wrestling. Feels pretty 9 and 8 to me. Alex, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, boy. This is our, I believe, fourth overall episode with Alex, who is co-host of semi-retired podcast. I'll Take Three. Owen, go ahead.
What? 3 what?
Exactly.
Good question.
Podcast I'll Take Three, which he hosts with his brother and his wife. So how's it going, Alex?
Good. Yeah, we've got 2 episodes that we recorded months ago that are sitting, I think maybe like a year ago now, and have not been edited. And eventually we plan on recording an episode on the Predator, or not the Predator, just Predator, that we were going to have you on, Lance, and then we have just dropped the ball.
Yes, I forgot about that, but definitely have me on for Predator because I can contribute a lot. I can quote those jokes right now.
A very knowledgeable because you yourself are a predator, correct?
Oh boy. Oh, that's a really nice bottle of wine. What are you gonna do with that today? That's pretty fucked up. Anyway, so yeah, Alex has been on in our. If you look at our, what do you call it? Oh Lord, our catalog, I guess. Alex was on our Mortal Kombat 2021 episode. He was on our Christmas Vacation episode, and it was supposed to be all 4 of us. Owen's colon fell out of his body, so he couldn't be on the episode when we covered Halloween Ends. And then after that episode, we all felt like our colons had fallen out of our body. So Alex is here. We are talking my movie today. This is a deep dive discussion on why the ending to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is terrible, and Alex is the one that supports it. So, should be an interesting discussion today.
Yeah, what the heck,
Alex? Alex is 3 against 1 here, buddy. No, because the good guy is lonely, and the asshole gets his family back. What should have happened was John Candy beheaded Steve Martin and then took his family, and he could have been like a fat Highlander, you know what I'm saying?
But John Candy humanized Steve Martin, and then Steve Martin helped John Candy. I don't know if he came to terms with it, but he helped him acknowledge it.
John Candy should have opened his mouth.
We're not talking about Roman Reigns here, Alex. Okay. Steve Martin's like, John, you need to acknowledge Roman Reigns. He goes, okay.
He just Steve Martin's family walks in the room and just sees John Candy eating him like that weird creature from the end of Smile.
Yeah, he's like halfway in his mouth, like a snake eats a mouse. He's like, "Hey guys."
Oh man, with the fat jokes already. Today the whole thing was I was setting it up the last time we were recording. I was going to talk to Cody after Owen got off the call. I was going to have Cody and Alex in on the things like, hey, we're just going to sit there and say we're going to discuss this movie. And when he thinks we're joking around, we're going to send a screenshot of a group chat where we talked about this, that we're going to talk planes, trains, and automobiles. Well, Cody's headphones died, or he every once in a while will exit the call and not tell us. And then me and Owen are just like, it's not a circle jerk, it's just a jerk and jerk.
Yeah,
And
I had to abruptly exit the call because I was like milliseconds away from crapping myself. So
You should.
it's not like we don't want to hear
Good
that.
excuse.
Yeah, you should have let us listen.
No,
We
no,
could have
it's
put
like, "Are
that.
you
We could have
pooping?
put that up on the Patreon.
I can hear you.
well, remember we had to
So,
scrap the entire recording that night because someone wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention.
We'll talk. Well,
I don't know.
Yeah,
what
here's
you're-
the best
I don't
part.
know what you're talking about.
okay, so our
Don't
last
worry.
episode, Alex, which will have come out before this episode does, because we're going to have to re-record it.
What is it?
It's called Shrek. So, fun, easy movie to talk about. Cool. We're recording. We got about an hour and 48 minutes into this. And then Owen goes, "Hey guys, my phone, my computer stopped recording after 7 minutes."
Oh, dude.
And I'm thinking in my head, in my head, I'm having like this reconstructive hope. I'm like, oh, so this last 7 minutes was okay. We can just re-talk about that. He goes, "No, guys, my computer stopped recording after 7 minutes in." So we had an hour and 41 minutes of just
Without Owen.
great banter and no Owen. Like, it was just going to be like, I mean, I guess we could have like went in and had Owen fill in the blanks with his recording, but just like listen
Yeah,
to us
just-
talk and be like,
Just, like,
yeah, guys, that
ADR
was
my
great.
lines in.
I mean, it wouldn't have wouldn't have sounded as bad as Darth Vader's "No" in Return of the Jedi, but it would have been pretty fucking rough.
Yeah, I was
So
in
we're
denial.
having to record
when
a
it
joint
happened.
episode.
I was
No, you could have just like, hey, look, I should hit record again.
Yeah, I could have just went back to normal. I was in denial when it happened. I looked at it and I was like, maybe it's just
What am I
froze or
doing in
something.
Egypt?
But then I hit the record button again. And I was shocked to discover
After an hour and 48 minutes.
I had to send
tells us
I had
that.
to send a voice chat to my OnlyFans subscriptions.
But yeah, so we're gonna record Shrek 1 and Shrek 2 is kind of like I would say bigger episode, but hell, we already recorded almost 2 hours. So probably closer to a 2-hour episode, and we're just gonna release that as his episode. And it's just like, you fucking moron. It's like, how does this even happen?
You fucking piece of shit. You disgusting fucking bastard.
Slut. You whore. So anyway. Yeah. So anyway, everybody, today's episode is actually the fourth movie in my carousel that I picked because I was like getting really lazy and decided, hey, I should go ahead and just pick this franchise and start covering all these. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Now, when we did Friday the 13th, the original movie, which was like probably 3 years ago, maybe 4. I think we did it the first year we started this podcast. I had asked the guys, Cody, Owen, and also myself, because I refer to myself in the third person. I was like, hey, Lance, what was your first experience with this franchise? So, when we went to Friday the 13th Part 2, I guess 2.5 months ago when it got released, I asked them again, because I'm just a refresher, what was your first experience with this franchise? Was this the first time you've seen this movie? Yada, yada. So, Alex, since you hadn't been on any of these Friday the 13th episodes, what was your first experience with this franchise, and what was your first experience with this movie?
Okay, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly when I first watched any of these movies, but growing up, my sister is 10 years older than me, and so when I was
Hi, Maggie.
maybe yeah, hi Maggie. Yeah, she's probably not gonna listen to this. She doesn't even listen to my show. When I
Tell
was
us Lance's, and she'll be like, oh, okay, that'll be fun.
Yeah, she'll listen to that. 5 or 6 years old, maybe. I have vague memories of, because she's a huge horror movie fan, her watching the Freddy Krueger and Jason movies. I don't remember if she watched Michael Myers movies, but that's where I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but also I'm freaked out by it at the same time. And then years went by, and probably when I was like 12 or 13, I was like, oh, I'm getting into these horror movies. I want to watch the ones that I remember my sister watching, and so that's when I did like a deep dive into the Jason movies, and all the Friday the 13th. And a big part of that's probably also I was 12 or 13, and I remember they had lots of boobies in the movies. So
Yes.
I tuned in for those especially. And then, I mean, I just really liked them. I like the bad ones, except for Jason Goes to Hell, which is a
Yeah,
big
my boy.
turd.
This is why we're best friends.
But this one I've probably seen maybe 6-7 times. This one I think is my favorite one. It's the one that I think is like the most fun, but not going too. It hasn't gone past the point of supernatural kind of stuff with Jason yet, and so that's why I like it. So I appreciate you bringing me on for this one.
Oh, dude, I remember when I told you about this like a couple months ago. I was like, dude, which one do you want to be on? Because you have to be on one. And you were like either 4 or 6. I think we kind of like nailed down part 4. And this is kind of a full circle moment, like for me and Alex, I guess, in a way. Because like I said, I've been friends with Cody since late 2010. I've been friends with Alex since 2008, 2009-ish. And obviously my bond with both of them is professional wrestling and horror movies and a little bit of musical taste. They kind of branch off into the punk, and then Cody's like punk rock and other things, but it's mainly like the movies and shit like that. And we all can laugh at Aqua Teen Hunger Force quotes.
Well, Limp Bizkit, baby.
Well, I know Alex is a huge Limp Bizkit fan, and Owen's actually from Jacksonville, so that's our other connection is Fred Durst. I've forgotten. I'm sorry. Hey, another Jacksonville connection. Alex is a Jaguars fan. Owen's from Jacksonville, and
Lance
he
has been
no
to
interest in
Jackson,
football.
Tennessee. That's
I wish. I have. Yeah, I have been to Jackson, Tennessee. Okay, look, that's an inside joke between Alex. I confided in him, and he's making me expose this. But when I was younger, when I picked my team, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now the gods of football, the Tennessee Titans were still the Houston Oilers playing in Houston, Texas. So they hadn't moved. But I remember when they first moved to Tennessee, and they played 2 years as the Tennessee Oilers. And I didn't have NFL Sunday Ticket at the time. My dad didn't get it until 1999, and we didn't get it on all the TVs until 2002. So I'm 8, 9 years old, and I'm seeing like Tennessee Oiler games, and they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for some reason, I had heard the name or the city Jackson, Tennessee, at some point. In my mind, auto-completed that they were like another Tennessee team for some reason. And Alex goes, "They're not the Jackson Jaguars." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! I'm not 11 anymore, man." But so that's where that joke comes from. Thank you, Alex.
yeah. You're right.
Well, here's another thing with Alex. We played Madden 2002 one time on the PlayStation 2. And I had Alex convinced that anytime the Jaguars scored a touchdown, you heard a really, like, female
Feminine,
cat sounding. And he goes, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it's really feminine." And then when we did it, it was actually like a first, like, and I was like, "I was just playing with you." He believed it until we actually played the game. So there's that. Anyway. So yeah, I knew this movie was going to be Alex's like favorite, but it's funny because I wasn't really a big podcast listener, and then I want to say, was it 2015, 2016? Gorley and Russ came out with In Voorhees We Trust, or was that 2018, Alex?
I think it was 2018 or might have been 2017, but yeah, it was in that time period.
So Alex had, like I said, I've listened probably to a few wrestling podcast episodes, just chunks of it. I wasn't a podcast listener. And Alex had told me, hey, these two comedians, Paul Gorley and Paul Rust and Matt Gorley, my bad, whoops. And they were doing a podcast called In Voorhees We Trust, talking about these movies. And they were like, I tried to get Cody into them, but Cody's like, "No, I'm okay." And they're about 2.5 hour episodes. I mean, they're fucking great because they're having fun with it, but they're not making fun of it because they do love the movies. It was on a podcast platform called Stitcher, and it was part of Stitcher Premium, so you had to pay for it. So I paid for it, and I was listening as the episodes dropped, and I was like, God, I love podcasts. So at this point, I was just searching for anything, and I discovered other podcasts like Halloweenies who were covering the Halloween episodes. Those episodes went 3 hours long, and all these other things. And then I ended up discovering a podcast called Real Bad Dudes Cast that covered the Psycho movies. That really, and then they covered The Thing, and that's what made me want to do this show. So Alex introduced me to like the world of podcasting. So here we are talking about Friday the 13th, Part 4, and it's like come full circle since I got introduced to podcasts. It was just kind of cool.
Damn.
And Alex also created my username that I use everywhere, Enigmatic Vein, because I was like, dude, Jeff Hardy, Mudvayne, how do I combine it? And he goes, he snapped his fingers, literally. Like I had thrown out like 2 different variations of it. He goes, Enigmatic Vein. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Not a single person on this fucking planet has that username. So he created something unique there. And what's funny, another full circle moment there is me and Alex saw Jeff Hardy at the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville in 2012. And I'm going to see Mudvayne with Owen in the Municipal Auditorium in 2024. So it's like, hey, everything's wrapping up.
Damn.
So I
dude,
can
that's
die. And everything will be a complete perfect circle. Anyway, so let's see here. Let me get my notes right. Only got a page back and front, and then a fourth of a page of notes that I took. I watched this movie like 3 times today. One with the audio commentary from the director, writer, and editor, and then one with these 2 fan directors who were kind of big in the horror community. Then I watched the movie, and I watched all the special features I could to come up with anything. All right, so all that spoken intro bullshit out of the way. Only 18 minutes. I'm sure that's going to sound lovely. Friday the 13th. So, Cody, so far, before we get into this part, the movie, Cody, so far, episodes, parts 1, 2, and 3, how are you feeling about the franchise as of yet? Because you haven't watched all these movies all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah, just to reiterate that point, is the only ones I've ever seen all the way through before all this, I think, was maybe 1, 8, 9, and 10. Definitely 9 and 10. I think I may have seen 8 all the way through, but I can't remember. But yeah, I'm definitely getting to a point where I'm tired of this formula. This movie, a lot of my problems that I had with this movie are the same as I had with kind of the last couple, and it's just become more exacerbated because it's the same kind of format, and so I'm ready for them to kind of get away from, like, for example, group of teenagers load up in a car and drive somewhere on a trip. I'm ready to just get the
This
fuck
is going to
away
be a
from
long,
that.
another 8 movies for you, Cody.
Yeah.
It does not
Well,
change.
It's going to be a
It's-
long.
well, it does change
number
eventually.
8
It does change
movies for
eventually,
you.
right? And sometimes for the better, and sometimes
No.
for the worse. Because Jason
No,
Goes to
because he
Hell
goes to
doesn't-
space and he
Jason-
goes to New York.
Right, Jason Goes to Hell doesn't have that formula. It doesn't have like the teenagers going to camp, right?
Well, it's got boobies. I mean, they're like middle-aged people, but yeah.
Yeah, and then Jason X, of course, doesn't have that at all. Which Jason X, out of all of them I've seen, is still my favorite one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, no joke. I would watch.
Hey, I love Jason X. I'm just.
I will.
Yeah.
I would watch
Oh!
Jason. I would watch Jason X like a lot when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, especially for like a 12-year-old boy, watching Jason X, it's like, oh my god, like it's so cool. Like especially when he turns into like Uber Jason, it's like this is fucking awesome, And
Yeah.
I love like the sleeping bag kill, as goofy as it is.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but obviously we'll get to that eventually and go and for a different episode. But yeah, just the formula is kind of wearing on me. I know like they kind of try and shake it up a little bit with this movie with like the whole like, oh well, there's actually like a family that lives out here, and introducing like the Jarvis family and all that.
And all the kids in this movie all have kind of like depth to them too. In this one, they're not just kind of throwaway characters.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, and I know there's one kill in particular I just kind of laughed at because it's like, oh my god, this is just terrible. It was when Rob got killed, because I was like, it almost looks like he's faking it when he gets
That's
killed.
It's like,
Because
he's killing me.
Yeah, he's like trying to convince him. Oh, I'm dying. I'm dying.
Yeah, yeah. And he's like, he's telling her to run or whatever, and it's just like it just doesn't come off like he's actually being killed. It's like this is kind of bad, but I don't know. That's just my general impression of the movie.
It is goofy, but people do say stupid shit like that when they are like getting killed.
Well, it's weird though too, right? Isn't he there? Because when they introduce him, he says he's there hunting something. So isn't the implication that he's there trying to hunt down Jason?
Yeah,
yes.
but Jason
Yeah.
breaks his gun and bends the gun barrel and everything, so he has no weapons.
He messes his
Right.
map up so he can't see where he's going.
Yeah, and
Nice
then
of Jason to do that.
and then later he just when he encounters him in the house, he just kind of gets easily manhandled. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're talking about like a bitch in prison. I feel like is watching the director talk about the movie, like they were trying to show like this Jason is extremely strong. Like he's not supernatural, but he did bend a gun barrel with his bare hands and snap the part of the gun you put on the gun butt, snap it in half.
He's got that.
And this
dummy
guy's
shit.
not like a killer, a hunter. Like that's not his thing. But they kind of throw away that his sister was killed by Jason in the second or the
Part
third
two.
story, and so he's out there trying to get revenge. So he's really just like a dude.
Which,
He's
by
not
the way,
anything special.
that brings me to my other main issue, and I know finally with Part 5 we get away from this problem, but I mentioned this when we covered Part 3. It's just highly convenient that a group of teenagers loads up into a car just a couple of days after another group of teenagers loaded up into a car, to go out to this area to go on a trip, and they all get murdered by Jason. Like, that's 3 groups within a few days that all get killed. And it plays into other problems, like how the fuck does Tommy know what kid Jason looks like when he goes to shave his head? It's like,
Well, there was a newspaper clipping with a drawing of Jason.
but the drawing of Jason is him as a grown man, right? Because that's when they captured him.
No, that
Like,
was kid.
No, they
that
had
was
a-
kid Jason.
Yeah, they had a drawing of his, like the version that the girl saw in the first movie coming out of the water.
And
That
okay,
was like the artist rendering of that.
okay.
You know,
Now also,
She really didn't see him though, because she kind of had her back to him. So like,
Yeah.
kind of
well,
weird.
and also if it's the rendition, if it's like the artist rendition of the water thing, wasn't that already confirmed that she was just dreaming when that happened? So like, why would they even do an artist drawing of it? You know what I mean? And how does he even know that the person going around killing everybody is Jason in the first place when he literally just walked out of the morgue like the day before?
Well, I'll say this from a perspective of the director and the guys who wrote the movie. They were trying to follow up Part 3, like connect this movie to Part 3. They weren't even really thinking that Part 2. They weren't fans of it. They weren't thinking that Part 2 happened directly before Part 3.
Right.
But really, this is like a whole fucking week's worth of bullshit. And this lake is supposed to be pretty huge in New Jersey. That's why everything's got a different thing.
Yeah.
So, like, in my head canon, when I, as a fan, am, as a kid, connecting all this shit, because I watched these movies well before I watched Jason X. And it's wonderful special effects. That was me rolling my eyes when I said that. Is like Part 2 happens, and then Part 3 happens, and Part 4 happens, but all these kids are en route to having their vacations. It's obviously a fucking, like, every fucking slasher movie that was coming out was copying Friday the 13th at this point. They were all doing this. Some kids, some hot chicks, all that shit was happening, and they were getting followed by some slasher. That's what the big craze was. So I understand this isn't really your shtick type of deal, but you're also the guy. And I agree with you to an extent where you say, I'd much rather have had a Halloween anthology franchise, or I can tell you right fucking now, I'd much rather have the Michael Myers movies just because I like Michael Myers. And
even though
you
it
do
seems
get
like
to
more often than not, the Michael Myers movies are garbage.
Oh, they are. Some of them. And some of
Yeah.
them are really good, though.
Well,
But
that's
at
what
this
I'm
point,
saying.
you go to... Michael Myers is the star of the movie, though. Jason
Yeah.
Voorhees is now the star of the movie.
And it's
You're not
not- and
going to see, like,
And I'm not
kids
even
in an hour-and-a-half movie.
And that example doesn't necessarily apply here because it's not that I don't like Jason or anything. It's just the way that I don't understand. I get it. They were wanting to connect it to part 3, but
The
like
repetitiveness of it.
Yeah, it's repetitive, but it's also like this all happens in a few days, like between part 2, 3, and 4. So it's all within a few days of each other, and it's like the same scenario happening in like a week, 3 times.
Camp Crystal Lake's in a
but
time.
I mean-
It's in a time loop, Cody.
It's Groundhog
Here's
Day.
one
Bill
thing,
Murray somewhere.
like Gorley and Rust, that podcast Lance was talking about, that kind of helped describe. I think I don't know if Lance feels the same way, but a big reason I think I like these movies is they are such a formula, but it's like a comforting formula. Like it's horror, it's slasher, it's the things you like, but it's almost like a roller coaster that you're going on, and you know what the beats are going to be. And you just like you like the ride that you're going on.
And I suppose if you're going to see it once a year, I suppose if you're watching this year after year instead of just a few weeks apart from each other, then it's almost like the way I treated Saw back in the day, because mostly it's fucking stupid and just a bunch of that's a gore fest, but you're seeing it year after year, not really like back to back. So I think
that's a good point.
And the thing is, like, if you don't have a nostalgia for this franchise, you're probably not going to look favorably on these movies. If you don't, like, I had a connection because, like I had heard stories because I was curious about watching scary movies. I wasn't allowed to yet, and I heard these stories about the Jason movies and the Michael movies because I've seen the masks before, and I've always been intrigued by people that wear masks or face paint. Obviously, i.e., Ultimate Warrior and Jeff Hardy, and Alex with Sting, and so it was always the mask that intrigued me. It's like, and the stories, like the little bit of character you get about Michael in every movie that goes forward from the original one, and then every little bit of Jason you get, just a little bit. Jason, but Michael is just a mental patient that was taken care of for like 20 years. Jason is some, invalid, like non-existent, like kid who grew up in the woods, had him survive. So, like, to me, it's like everybody, they're just two killers that stalk, like, Friday the 13th copies Halloween. Well, we're going to get to a point where Halloween starts to copy Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
With the next couple of ones. And Jason, it's like, after this movie, you go to watch Jason kill people. You're not there for, like, some deep character development or some shit like that. Jason is the star, the
unless
hockey
you're someone
mask.
like me who watches part 2 and is like, how the fuck did he track this person down? That was a big thing with part 2, right? It's like, how the fuck did he ever even find what's her name, Alice?
Oh yeah.
It's just
it doesn't make any sense. Like,
and I think these movies are fun to like. It is fun to poke holes in it because they take it seriously in the way that they're trying to honor some of the previous stories that come before it, but they're also just like, oh, well, this is just a fun movie. So it's fun sometimes to be like, well, this doesn't make sense. I don't know if Lance we were gonna bring this up, but the Gorley and Rust guys, the timeline you're talking about, they like spent a good 20 minutes trying to figure out, okay, this happens this day, this happens this day. Like it is fun to do that.
He had this really big bay window
in
his house, Cody, in this podcast, and he goes with a marker and he writes it out. Like, they're like, okay, so Jason was here, Jason was here, there,
like
and all this
the
other
first
shit.
Two
like,
movies actually take place on Friday the 13th. The rest is like Sunday the 15th.
even in this movie, there's like one moment where I was thinking about it, and I get it, I overthink it, but like he's at the house where the teenagers are, right, and like killing them, and then I guess he hoofs it across this, however big this like area is, to the Jarvis house so he can kill Mama Jarvis, and then he goes all the way back to the other house. I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you going back and forth?
He's like, shit, I forgot something. Hold on, guys.
There is one shot. There is one shot where
throw her out the window.
Well, there is one shot in this movie, Cody, where Trish and Rob go to the next house, and it's literally like 20 feet away. So it's not that like big of a stretch for Jason to be like, I'm gonna kill here. Let me go fuck with Mama. Let me go do this and all shit like that. It's like people that think that Jason threw Gordon out the window. I think he was in the basement the entire time, but there was enough stretch of time when Gordon got thrown out. When Trish goes upstairs and she goes in the bathroom, Jason could have walked past her and walked back down to the basement. But I think Jason was in the basement the whole time, and Gordon just got
Gordon's
scared.
just like,
threw up.
screw this, man. I'm jumping
Yeah.
out the window.
My interpretation of it was that he just jumped out the window to get away.
Yeah, that's what I look at because look. So when we get into this discussion, it's like that's the thing. If you come from it like you're watching these movies from the critical eye, which is what I asked you guys to do, you're not going to like these movies. Like at any point in this discussion,
Well,
I'm not going to like any of the Freddy Krueger movies. I'm not going to think they're clever. I'm just like, he's a pedophile. I can't get past that. So it's like,
it definitely wasn't the worst movie I saw today. So
What else did you
oh yeah,
see?
Cody.
I watched Rob Zombie's Halloween this morning before
Oh,
watching
boy.
this. Yeah, that was something, all right. And it's not
That's
even
cool.
my least favorite Friday the 13th movie out of the 4 we've watched. I still think Part 3 is the worst one so far.
Oh. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think part 1's the worst one for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I agree. I think 3's not a great movie, but I think that's the first movie where they're like, okay, this is what Jason is. And
Yeah, and that's fine. It's just
Yeah.
we did an episode on it, so if anyone's curious,
yeah, I'm
go
excited
back and
to,
listen to that.
to hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
I mean, it's
hasn't
good
even
shit.
been edited yet.
Yeah, I know. And I did. Somebody had posted. I sent Alex this like 4-minute clip of some of the Southern lawyer bits that Gorley was doing on the podcast, and I was listening to it. And I'm like, okay, there's a part for part 2, and Cody put it in the episode, and then there's like a 1:15 long segment from part 3. I'm like, Cody, this 1:15 has to be in the episode. You have to put it in there because they're gonna think I'm stupid for not referencing this. And that's the last clip I'll have of the Southern lawyer thing. But like I said, these Jason movies, they become like, okay, it's fun. Not the next one, but the one after. The next one, and I said the next one, if you like titties, the next one has a couple nice tits.
Yay!
That is the best thing I can say about that movie. Like, very, very nice. And an awesome fucking kill, to be honest with you, with head clippers.
Oh yeah,
Other than Cody, yeah, they're gonna really like. I'm gonna rip that movie apart. And Cody was like, it was funny when he was talking about he texted me. He said he listened. He watched Halloween, Rob Zombies. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's still better than Ends. I'm like, dude, Rob Zombies, Halloween 2, and Ends are 2 movies I will never watch again. Like fucking ever.
Yeah, I think
Ugh.
I'd rather watch Ends over Rob Zombie's Halloween movies.
Well, I'm
I
gonna
don't
watch
know,
his
man.
Halloween.
I
just
definitely
can't
don't
watch
want to
it.
do it at all.
I'm gonna watch his Halloween 2 maybe in the morning, and then I'll rinse it away when I go see Alien Romulus. So
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that.
I can't get
Speaking
past
of Halloween
the,
5, since I'm not going to be on that episode, there's the guy who plays Taco from The League, and he does like the "Show Me Your Genitals" songs and stuff. He has like a semi-serious musical thing he does. I can't remember what the name of it is, but he has a whole song about
Wolfie.
being a kid and seeing Halloween 5 too young and how it kind of scarred him.
Oh, Friday the 13th 5.
Yeah, Friday the 13th
Alex,
part 5.
it's Friday the 13th 5. Yeah. You said Halloween 5. I was like, whoa, wrong
my
one.
bad. Yeah, Friday the 13th part 5.
Yeah, so he has a song like influence, and they kind of reenact the scene that I'm talking about. But like I said, part 5, it's okay. Owen has no idea what's going to happen going forward, so I don't want to talk about it. But it's going to be a slodge to get through because I can't wait to get to part 6. Part 6 is probably my personal favorite. I think Friday the 13th Part 4 is the best one of the series. Like from like Jason, like the kids have enough depth to them. You're like, oh, okay, cool. They're just not throwaway characters that just get killed. And Jason, they have pretty good kills. They do bring Tom Savini back in this movie from the first movie to do the makeup effects, and all that good stuff. Corey Feldman, Crispin Glover. I think they're all pretty good in this movie. And like I said, I think this is the best characterization of Jason. He's fucking angry. He chases fucking people around. The dude's like 6'4", built like a brick shit house. Shit house. So yeah. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay, I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure.
Did Cody or sorry, did Owen say what his thoughts on the franchise are so far?
Probably shitty, but I'll go ahead and ask him anyway. Owen.
It's just kind of whatever. I mean, a lot of my thoughts are kind of the same as Cody's. The only real difference I think between
Because they share one brain.
or morph together. The only real
Go
difference
Tanks,
I have,
go
I think,
Judah.
is that I actually do think that this so far is probably the best one. Just with kind of what Lance mentioned a little bit earlier, was that they sort of flesh out the kids a little bit more, and they have the family as well as the teenagers. That kind of adds a little bit of like a new element to the movie. It's not just the stupid teenagers.
Okay, cool. We got a semi-positive outlook for Owen. That's going to be interesting. He has not liked any of the three.
I still am fatigued a little bit, though, but I think it's because of what you guys were saying. We are watching these a little bit back-to-back, so it's kind of like, all right, yeah, I know what to expect. Same old fare.
I mean, if you want, Owen, I can pick a 3-hour movie for us to watch. Would you just rather watch an hour-and-a-half movie?
Yeah, I want to watch. Can we watch Gone with the Wind next?
Fucking yeah, the extended 4-hour
I'm not
cut.
going to be on that episode. I'm going to bail on that one.
No, there's going to be an episode that we're going to do that I know Cody's not going to be on. I want to get Owen to like review one of these 60s like war movies with me, either like Battle of the Bulge or Achilles Heroes or The Dirty Dozen or some shit. And I know Owen would like those movies, and Cody's going to be like, oh, guys, I'm not going to do this. I'm like, I know. I kind of figured. Yeah, so I knew going into this, like, I didn't think Owen was going to like these, but he also didn't know where the movies were going to go. And like, dude, this is going to be a wild fucking ride. And Cody started, like, ass backwards and saw those movies and then saw these. So it's like, we'll see. He's more of a Freddy Krueger fan. So Cody is pretty, he's pretty kind to child killers, among other things. And,
yeah, I
so
heard Cody
real quick,
was talking about John Wayne Gacy not long ago. He said that,
Yeah, I was about to say, like, hey, Cody, what was your thoughts on John Wayne Gacy? Did you like the guy?
Look,
Do you possibly think he's a jam up guy?
I heard he was a great clown.
I heard he was one of the highest flyers of the highest heights and a jam up guy.
Excellent party clown. Excellent party clown.
Didn't he make paintings? I heard they were pretty good.
Yeah, on his face, he was a fucking clown.
Yeah, but like, didn't he start painting in prison?
I don't know. Maybe. I didn't do any research in this, man. Come on. All right. So we'll go ahead and go with my notes real quick. I gotta do a quick shout out to Shout Factory for releasing that huge Blu-ray set for Friday the 13th that I bought. I ended up giving Alex my old Friday the 13th Blu-ray set, which is really just the movies, and special features were just the trailers, but it had a cool like metal casing around it. So I sent that to Alex when I bought this motherfucker for $120. But I don't regret it. It's funny because it has like all the special features that they had in that box set I gave you, Alex.
Yeah.
They had they had the other special features they had in the 2009 box set that they released. And I had just found at my dad's house the original DVD set that Paramount, or CBS, I guess, is I guess Paramount's the company. Paramount release of the first 8 movies that came out in October. I looked this up, October 5th, 2004. I still have that DVD set at my dad's house. And all the special features they had on that are on this, plus a little bit extra stuff, which is pretty cool. And shout out to Crystal Lake Memories, the Blu-ray that I'm watching. I have the book. The book and the Blu-ray came out in like 2013. The book's at my dad's house. I packed it away, and I need to unpack it, so I'm going to get some more of the facts. But so I watched
Isn't that like
Crystal
a
Lake Memories.
7-hour-long documentary?
Yes, yes, it is. So I only watched the part 4 part. So what I do is I put in that, I watch the part 4 part, and then I put on the audio commentary from the people who created it and watch the part 4 part again to get any other facts I can. And then I usually end up watching all the special features that I can. Then I watch the movie with commentary, then I watch the movie, and it's kind of exhausting to do it in one day like I did today, so I'm kind of burnt out. but let's see here. Where am I going to start off? All right. So from the Crystal Lake Memories, Frank Mancuso, the producer who joined in part two as an associate producer, his daddy is the CEO of Paramount at this point. He wanted to finish the franchise. He was getting tired of like doing the same thing and not getting the respect for like making movies, because I mean they were making money, but legitimate quote unquote Hollywood movies, the producers and stuff like that were getting pissed off because their movies were losing to Friday the 13th. Like I think part two or part three, one of them bumped E.T. out of the number one spot at one point, and then this movie bumped a Clint Eastwood movie out of the number one spot, and it's like, this piece of trash movie is like making more money than us, so it makes them look bad, and it makes him look bad because he's doing it. So he wanted to finish it to move on to better things. They brought in Joseph Zito, who was the director of a slasher movie called The Prowler. So among other things, I didn't really care to look up the guy. He probably, of so far the special features, had the most to say about the movie, which means he probably didn't do anything more successful after Friday the 13th Part 4. Because everybody else is like Steve Miner, who worked with like Jamie Lee Curtis and all that shit, and he's like, he did one interview in 40 years about it. So let's see here. They wanted Ted White to be Jason because he was a former stuntman that worked with John Wayne and a bunch of big Hollywood stars. The original special effects artist, I wrote this in green ink pen. It was a bad choice. Original special effects artist was future Oscar Award winner Greg Canham, and he left because of personality differences. That's all that's ever elaborated on. I couldn't find anything else, so they brought in Tom Savini again, and Tom said that they had already started the makeup for Jason, and they were basing it off of his Part 1 makeup. So he didn't even create the Jason makeup for Part 4. He just finished the work they were doing, and it was already based on it. So he said it was kind of easy just to step in and finish it. And it's a 4.5 hour Jason makeup job for this. Let's see here. Corey Feldman, when he went for the audition, thought it was for a Halloween movie, not Friday the 13th. He had not seen Friday the 13th yet. Let's see here. They said the Jarvis actors, like the woman that played the mom, the woman that played his sister, all got along really well. Like Corey, I think it's been documented, Corey had a really dark home life, and he was more at peace when he was always like on the set with the other actors. So like they said, like for this movie, he was like everybody, kind of rallied around him, and it felt really close knit. Like there was nobody other than Ted kind of staying off to himself. Everybody kind of got along really well. This is the first movie that Pamela Voorhees' name was revealed. In the first movie, she was just known as Mrs. Voorhees, and you see her tombstone. Let's see here. The dead fuck line was improv that we'll get into. That's probably like one of the funniest dialogues in the whole movie, the whole dead fuck thing. He's talking about losing his girlfriend, all that shit. I was going to tell Alex, hey man, we should recite that, but I can't remember everything. I just remember the dead fuck. A lousy lay, and he does that thing with his hand. I asked Savannah
It's like
too.
the computer never lies.
It's like, but there's no computer. He's like, there's no Betty either. And I asked Savannah too. He's like, am I a dead fuck? She goes, will you shut up? Like, okay. So Cody, when you get off the phone, ask Stephanie tonight. He's like, am I a dead fuck? Only when he doesn't clean the house.
Yo, guys.
So
guys, 1 sec. I have to take a massive dump. Hold on. I'm
nice.
I'm tapping out for 1 sec.
What? If you can poop in 1 second, that's fucking impressive.
All right.
A massive dump in 1 sec.
Time me, boys.
Okay.
It's like a trap
Cool,
door
man.
down there. Just pulls a
Jesus
string and
Christ.
just all falls out at once.
Yeah, there's a trapdoor spider out in the wild that's like extremely like they actually has where it's like they tunnel in the ground, build this big fucking web in this tunnel, and they create this door out of like mud. And then when something flies, so they hide at the bottom of this little burrow that they made. And when something flies into the web, the trap door shuts and they eat the fucking thing. It's fucking wild, dude. I had a spider book when I was like 6 years old, and that fucking always fucked with me. I'm like, oh Lord, looking for a trap door, and I'm walking out. This is like shit in Australia. I'm over here looking in my backyard, like, is it in here?
I think trapdoor
Um,
spiders live in Tennessee.
oh no, no, Cody, those are called backdoor spiders, if you know what I mean. Um, so
No, they don't. They don't live in
so
Tennessee.
these facts don't really matter to Owen, but that Jarvis house, that was a real house they found. And then they had to convince the studio to build another house right across the way from it. So the blue house they built was specifically built for this movie. And when they revisited the set for the Blu-ray features that they recorded back in 2010, the Jarvis house is still up and standing. The blue house is completely gone. There's nothing there.
It's funny that
And
they
the Jarvis
went to
house,
all that trouble because you only see the two houses like next to each other in a real shot once, I think, in the whole movie. The rest of the
yeah,
time they just
but
make
they
it
wanted to
seem
show
like
that
it's
it was
there.
there.
I just wanted
Well,
to
it's just
correct.
so funny
I just
because
wanted to correct myself real quick. There is a type of trapdoor spider in Tennessee.
Oh Lord, I
Oh,
don't need to
boy.
know that.
The ravine trapdoor spider lives in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee.
Oh, Cody, I appreciate that, man. I'll sleep really well knowing that.
You're welcome.
I'm
It
probably
says
gonna dream about it
it
actually.
says it's where Ridley Scott got his inspiration for the face hugger because it likes to stick its meaty, fleshy tube down people's throats and impregnate them. It's really weird.
I'm getting all hot and
Jesus
bothered
Christ.
now.
Dude, fucking when we're in the theater watching Deadpool and Wolverine, and they show that trailer to Alien Romulus, and I haven't seen the trailer yet for it because I mean, I try to
Yeah.
watch the Alien movies. I watched the first two, and I think I watched the third one, but I just wasn't into it. And I watched it, and they slowed the face hugger's dick come out of the woman's mouth or the person's mouth slowly. I'm like, God damn, that fucking hurts my balls for some reason, and my throat. It
And
was gross. I'm like,
I,
ugh, I don't fucking
I
need to
leaned
see
over to you. I leaned over to you and I was like, "Yeah, that face hugger." Was like, "Thanks, baby. That was good."
that. Hey, Alex, what was it? Remember when the first rebrand they did of Aqua Teen? It was Aqua Unit Patrol Squad 1.
Yeah.
And Shake goes in that sleeping thing, but that fucking whatever it was started like having sex with his mouth for the years that it was like he was asleep in the
Yeah, I
fucking
do remember
coffin
that.
thing. And he wakes up and goes, I've been making sweet love to your face for the last 18 years or some shit like that. And he goes, what? He goes, it's not you. I think it's me. We shouldn't see other people. He goes, I didn't even consent to this. So it's like, oh, it's so gross, man. I just, Now, have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet, Alex?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Uh, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know my daddy, but I shot his dick ready. He put those buttery nuts up in my mama, and I shot out, and I said, "What's up, doc?" The fucking instinct part at the beginning was like, it stuck in my head for like 2 weeks after that. I'm like, bye, 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 dun, 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 dun.
All the
Oh,
Gambit stuff was amazing. I love like Ryan Reynolds be
Ooh.
like, "Who is the
Oh, yeah.
dialect coach?" Um,
the minions.
He was so good. I couldn't believe it.
and I love like when
I
the
like,
suit up part with all the ass slapping and crotch grabbing.
Yeah.
he's like, your tailor is a predator, by the way. And my favorite line in the movie is when he goes, "Look at this guy. He's gonna call his wife for a hall pass." He goes, "Who you calling? Your wife?" He goes, "HR." He goes, "Your wife works in HR?"
Yeah.
And then when he jumps and when he first does the time jump thing and he plays the Iris song from Goo Goo Dolls, I fucking love that part. I'm
Oh,
like, that's
yeah.
fucking great. I give up forever to touch you. That movie's good. I know
Yeah, it was
eventually,
good.
like, I think my opinion might soften on it and be like, it's just kind of cameo heavy, but it's fucking fun and it's a nice goodbye to the Fox movies.
Yeah,
That's what it
especially
is.
like the first watch you have of it, dude. It is really good. It probably is like gets really on your nerves. I bet if you watch too much of it, though.
Oh yeah, it's going to be diminishing returns, kind of like Spider-Man: No Way Home. Like that movie's great the first time, and probably great the second time you watch it. But then it's like, oh, okay, yeah,
It's
sounds
so
good,
long.
but
Yeah,
I'm
I've
sorry.
watched it a few times with Logan, my son, and he's
My father-in-law was there. He like tagged along, and when when Blade shows up on the screen, he leans over to me. He's like, "Who's that supposed to be? Sammy Davis Jr.?" I was like, "No, that's Blade."
That's
Oh
fucking
my gosh, that's
funny.
hilarious.
Speaking
Oh,
of
shit.
the blade part, oh well. Speaking of the, hold on, hey Owen, take the headphone out real quick. I gotta quote one more thing.
Okay.
All right, when the blade part, when he's like, "I'm only one blade, and it's never gonna be another blade," and then Deadpool looks at the screen. It's like that's fucking funny because Disney's had so much trouble with that Blade movie coming out.
I
Oh
know.
man,
I feel
that
like it's
bums me
never gonna come
out.
out.
Yeah, that bums me out because like out of like when they announce like these phases or whatever, like Blade is the one I've been looking forward to the most. And it just keeps getting pushed back. It's like son of a bitch.
Yeah.
All right, Owen, you can come back.
Okay.
Owen, okay. Um, so real quick, the Jarvis house, which is a real house, they used it in the movie Eraser and in episodes of the show Entourage, and they actually showed scenes of it. I'm like, damn, it looks the exact same too. And there's still nicks in the door jamb where they were throwing Jason's machete at the house when they went to go revisit it. So the people who own the house never fixed it. I thought that was pretty cool. Uh, let's see here. The scene where Jason kills a hitchhiker, swallowing a banana, deep throating a banana. Um, that was Tom Savini standing in for Jason, so it actually wasn't Ted White on the set that day to do that part because he had to do the way that special effect was. They had like this, like I guess, fake metal blade that wrapped around the back of her neck to the front of her neck, and they had fake skin over it, so it made it look like that blade was coming in and out of her throat, and it had a blood thing that was pumping through it. It's a pretty cool effect. I saw the behind the scenes. I'm like, okay, that's
That's
just
neat,
pretty cool
yeah.
how they do that.
And then she drooled all over
Let's see.
herself.
I know the banana part
It's a,
makes it so much worse.
Yes.
She's like, It's like, okay, why is she moaning? It's like, whoa. She's like, Jason's like, I think both of us like this, don't it? Um, the raft scene, the chick, Samantha. I was telling Alex, whatever brand of raft that is that can survive being stuck with a knife and not deflate, I want to buy. Feels like that's a Flex Seal commercial, just waiting to be made. Like, look at this raft. It got stabbed by Jason, and it's still floating in the water with a dead body in it. Um,
Look
so,
at
but the
this
chick who was
floating
doing it,
raft.
so so she's like chest up is her, and then the rest of her is through the bottom of the raft, and then they have a like mannequin like molded part of her body where they can put the prosthetic through with the knife where it can pump blood out. Well, so she's in this water, and this water they say is like 35 degrees when they're filming these things.
Oh
And
Jesus.
Ted White said that he's like, I don't know, I don't think the director was trying to be mean about it, but I think he could have been more thoughtful of other people's feelings. And she's like shivering and she was crying, saying she was cold and like, no, we gotta get the shot, we gotta get the shot. And then Ted White went up to her and said, hey, you need to get her out of there before she gets sick. And he goes, well, look, let me direct, you do Jason. And he goes, well, if you don't get her out of that raft, I'm gonna walk. How do you like that? And so she was brought in and they warmed her up and then they were able to get the scene. Turns out she had got hypothermia from filming that scene. And then at this point, they were Topeka Canyon, I think, maybe something like that. Hold on, where they filmed this movie because they said it's not far from Hollywood, but it gets really cold out where they were at. So it's like 35 degrees at night when they're filming this shit, and it's raining all the time. So let's see here, filming Topanga Canyon in Newhall, California, is where they filmed it. That's crazy. They filmed this movie from October 9, 83 to January 84, and this movie came out in April 84. They came out
That's
in like
crazy.
3 fucking months after they got done shooting it. So, ooh. 6 weeks to complete post production. That's fucking crazy. They said that Ted White kind of stood away from the rest of the cast. He goes like, if I'm gonna be Jason, I'm gonna have to scare them. We're trying to get reactions. I don't need to be buddy buddy with them afterwards. So he kind of stood off and stayed in character. Went between takes, is what he said. And when you have a 6'4" guy wearing the Jason mask, I guess it's easy not to go talk to him. There is an alternate ending with Miss Jarvis that we'll talk about, which is it's okay. I'm glad they didn't use it. But let's see here. Corey, when they did the scene where he shaved his head, he was using a bald cap, and he had been using that bald cap for 2 weeks as they were setting up the scenes and filming that part. And he ended up getting like a really bad fever the day that they were like finishing the shot you see where his eyes get like black rings around his eyes because he's fucking sick with like over 101 fever. And they hope that Tommy would carry on the franchise potentially. That's why they have that closing shot. And Ted White wasn't proud. That's why he isn't listed in the credits as Jason in this movie. And when my grandma had those VHS tapes, I always thought like they don't have Jason in the credits. I'm the one of those people that will watch the credits and just see who played Jason. And every single one of them has who played Jason but part 4. And then evidently in part 7 they credit Ted White as Jason when they show reused footage at the beginning of that movie again. So yeah, it was looked at like this was probably the last mainstream Jason one. The rest of them were all kind of like as the box office falls off at this point because this movie brought in $32.9 million on a $2.2 million budget, which is pretty good back in '84. They said that like after that in the diminishing returns, this is probably this is the high point of the franchise from a financial perspective. The canon timeline like Cody was talking about was brought up in the commentary, and it's like, yeah, they were kind of loosey goosey with it, This is Frank Mancuso's favorite. The mask, which looks a little different than the mask in part 3, it's actually the same mold they used from part 3. It's just that Ted White's head is a different shape than Richard Brooker's head, who played Jason in part 3. So when they put the prosthetic makeup on, the mask looks different on his face than it does on Richard, but it's the same mask, what they used. Let's see here. There's one thing I noticed I got to talk about when we talked about Gordon. When Gordon jumped out the window, that dog's tail wagged like 3 times in a full circle. That dog was extremely happy in that shot. And I saw the shot behind the scenes they had unearthed it. You see the trainer outside the window having like a toy teddy bear trying to get Gordon to jump through this like plexiglass that's made to break open. So they did a couple takes of it. It's pretty funny just seeing the dog's tail wag and shit, and he's all happy when he does it. Jumps out the window and he lands on a mattress pad, they said.
That's funny.
So let's see here. Okay, watching the movie commentary when we start out with the opening montage, because their intention was this was it. This was the last Friday the 13th movie. We're not making another one. We're done. And then when you see that color green, God, it's really fucking hard not to. But this was the last one. So the director, the screenwriter, and the editor were not involved with the opening montage they put at the beginning of this movie. They didn't even know it was on there until they watched the movie for the first time. So that was put together by Frank Mancuso, the producer, because they wanted to kind of tie everything up. Let's show a little bit of the first movie and let's tie 2 and 3 together so they know this is the ending of that story. The opening title sequence, when you see the mask and it says the final chapter, or it says Friday the 13th, and then the final chapter comes in and the mask blows up. Joe said that was supposed to break apart, not blow up. But, he said, I guess he did like a lot of explosions after this movie and all of his other movies, so it kind of started a trend for him. So, okay. Did you guys think that the opening montage was just kind of like padding the runtime almost?
I mean,
I'll start with Cody.
for people who
Or
didn't
Alex,
watch them all back to back to back, it probably was nice to have it there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I haven't watched 1 and 2 or 3 recently, so it's kind of cool to be like, oh yeah, this was the stuff. And I've seen it a million times, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think, Cody?
Um,
Or Owen, my bad. What? It don't matter.
That's okay. Cody can go.
I agree with Alex. Like, yeah, it's nice, especially because this is like really before home media was really a big thing, right? Like, you didn't have VHS
Yeah.
and stuff yet, so um,
You had to wait for it to come on HBO
right.
as
So
like a
like,
presentation. You had to
Yeah.
pay for the
if you're
HBO
just like a
channel.
casual movie viewer or whatever, you more than likely is like, oh yeah, I went and saw the other ones the last few years, and now there's a fourth one. I'm gonna go see it. So yeah, it serves as a nice reminder for that specific situation at the time.
What about you, Owen?
Yeah, I thought it was a cool little clip show, especially since this is supposed to be like the last one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense to have like a little recap kind of thing, and it has the guy in the wheelchair falling down, which is always a plus.
That's probably at this point the best kill in all 4 movies. Still, is like him getting hit across the face and the wheelchair just going down the stairs backwards. It's like pretty fucking cool. I'll say I always loved when watching these movies. Like I said, I didn't watch them in order, but when I did watch them, I would see what happened in the previous movie, so I would kind of know where the next movie. Like by the time I watched that movie, because I hadn't seen it yet, by the time I watched that movie, I had already forgotten that was in the previous movie I watched. I'm like, oh, what happens? Oh, it ties together. That's so cool. I'm 10 years old, and I like having that. It's almost like an episodic thing, like last time on Dragon Ball Z, and they show you that, and then here's the rest of the movie. So for it to be the final part and to tie everything up into Paul's speech from part 2, I thought was pretty cool. I will say the part 7 montage they put together, when we get to that, is my favorite montage. Because after this, none of the next movies have really anything, like they don't have the ending of the last movie in front. Like part 2, you see the ending of part 1. Part 3, the ending of part 2. This one, all 3 of the endings. Part 5, they don't have anything like that. Part 6, they don't have anything like that. Part 7, there's a big montage. Part 8, they don't have anything. So this was the last one, like, or the movies being super connected like that. So I always liked the little, like, the previously on Friday the 13th thing that they had in the movies. I also felt like that was to pad out the runtime, because if you take those out, the movies are only like an hour and 15 minutes. So you put in a 10-minute montage with a 5-minute opening title sequence, you got an hour and 30-minute movie. So, that's, and then me and Alex, we talked about this. They didn't, Alex, I had sent you this text.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything about the equipment, but I was telling Alex, like, the first 5 Friday the 13th movies, the film has a different grain to it. Like, it's like Alex described it as late 70s, early 80s look. And then you finally transition with part 6, where it's a late 80s, early 90s look. Where, like, the movies come out a year apart, but it just looks way different. I don't know how to really describe it. It's almost like a cleaner picture almost. It's really weird. Like, this movie
It's
you
like
would
it has a
closely
gauzy
associate
look
with.
to it in these ones, and then
Yes.
it gets too too
Yeah, it's
clear.
like this movie here is the gauzy look of Friday the 13th Part 4 and 5 is more associated with the original Halloween, where Friday the 13th Part 6 is more associated with Halloween H2O with the way it looks. Like, it doesn't have that gauzy look at all. It's just kind of weird to me. I always like, I wonder what that is, but I guess it's just different equipment and all that. Let's see here. They wanted to film Gordon. The producers and people wanted them to film Gordon running away like he was okay, but they never got around to it. The director wanted it to be Jason killed Gordon. He threw him out the window, but I don't think he cared enough to like film anything for it. He said when Jason died at the end that people cheered when he was seeing it. Corey was chopping sandbags for that scene when he was at the end when we get to it. There was no conversations that this were going to be any future movies whatsoever. The writer wanted Jason to touch Trisha's titties and be distracted by her titties before Corey killed her. So thankfully that was vetoed.
Could you blame him though?
I mean, look, dude, I didn't realize it until watching it in this scene, and the audio commentary was pointing it out when Trish fell from the house, which was a stunt woman, and seeing the shot of her going through the plexiglass, rolling through the fence, and hitting the ground. It looked pretty fucking violent. But when they matched the shot for the actress who plays Trish, I saw nipples through shirt and camel toe, and I'm not complaining. It was like, oh, I didn't see that on the VHS tape with my grandmother. I'm glad I didn't. But Grandma, what's that?
Grandma, what's this weird
The
thing happening in my pants?
uh, the car scene when he grabs one of the twins and throws them through the building. They did 2 takes for the poor stunt woman when she landed on that car. He didn't like the first take, so they did a second take. So if you will go back and watch that scene, the take that they use is the second take. Before she crashes on the car in slow motion, you see there's already dents in the top of the car,
That's a real.
and that's what she hit.
woman,
And then they blew. Yeah,
Damn.
that's a
That
stunt
was
woman.
brutal.
That's impressive. Like, I thought it was a dummy. It looked like. I thought it was like a really
No.
good like dummy.
No, dude. Watching that scene in the special features, she's doing like Jeff Hardy's swanton bomb out the window. Like she has her arms out, like head fucking tucked, feet together, like she's about to fucking pin somebody 1, 2, 3 for the WWE title at Armageddon 2008. And so and then like that's and then like that's also a stunt woman when she jumps out the window and falls to the ground. Like that was a real stunt. Like she's falling out of that 2-story house doing that,
She said, "Geronimo,"
which is pretty incredible. Ted, when they had that final fight, he told her like, "Hey, really, when I tackle you to the ground, really hit me in the head. I don't want this to look fake." So she's really like punching and everything like that because he wanted it to look good. And that mask scene when we get to it, when Tommy or Trish knocks off the mask off Jason's face, that shows them throwing the mask to the floor, trying to get it to fall in the right spot over and over and over again. And the director is doing commentary for it, and he goes, and we kept trying to get this shot, and then they finally see the shot happen, and somebody scoots it in with his foot, and he goes, we didn't use that shot with the guy's foot, obviously. So I thought that was pretty good. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah, all the nudity scenes when Corey's acting like, oh, wow, he sees it. He's not actually seeing anything. They're just filming his reactions to
The way he
imaginary
jumps on the
titties.
bed and stuff and kicks his legs.
It's
like-
very relatable.
Yeah, he's such a good actor, especially as a kid actor.
Which
Yes.
in turn led to him being a
He's-
great musician later on in life. They say that he's still in the show on the Limp Bizkit tour.
Oh man.
Oh, I'm sure he did. He's good friends with Fred Durst. And one last thing.
I would assume so.
The
'Cause
breath-
that has to be the only reason he's on that tour because he's terrible.
The scene when they put Jason into the morgue, if you notice, as he closes the door, you see a breath come up. And they're trying to get, that frozen breath like he's in an ice box so Jason's breathing. But the guy doesn't notice it when he shuts the door. That's cigarette smoke. So Ted White, I guess, takes the drag off a cigarette and holds it in. When they do the filming of the scene, he spits it out. So it looks like you see Jason's breath, like, oh, okay, cool. And then that scene where, before they put him in the meat box, where you see, the gurney move, where Jason's adjusting himself. I guess he's scratching his nuts. They said that Ted did that after they had said cut, and they were still filming it. They're like, hey, we should just use that part. That looks pretty good. So, all right, but yeah, so Cody's talked about it. It's, there is a formula to this movie. You have, but this one's a little different. You have Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis. I guess I should get some names out. See, I was looking at my notebook. I guess I should look at Wikipedia now. So Trish, Kimberly Beck, who was also a child actress, Corey Feldman, and then Joan Freeman, I should say, not Joanne, was Mrs. Jarvis. So they're the family that's introduced, and then you have a group of kids come in, and some of them had like 80s TV shows they were on. Crispin Glover's the big one because he was in Back to the Future later on, and he's been in a bunch of other movies. He's a weird cat, but he's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's like.
So these kids,
It feels like he's on another planet in this movie.
100%, man. It's fucking. He does a little Jeff Hardy dance. I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
the
that looks like me
dance,
listening.
And
I was
then the
like,
part
that's
where
me
he's
listening
like,
to music.
Ted, where's the corkscrew, Ted?
I love it when he says, when Teddy gets the girl stolen away from him, he's like, "It's like I had her. I'm gonna kill him." And he goes, "Teddy, I want to talk to you." He goes like, "Not now, dead fuck." And he's like, "Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about." And he goes like, "I can't believe I lost her." He goes, "Well, Teddy, why don't you put that in your little computer?" And he just looks at it. It's fucking awesome, man. Just fucking great. I really like. I enjoy Crispin Glover in this movie. Like his shot in this movie is better than Kevin Bacon in the first Friday the 13th for me.
Yeah, agreed.
So, and like I've talked about this before. The first Friday the 13th is pretty weak for me. In retrospect, I don't hold that movie in some like exalted position. It's more like, okay, I gotta show you this just so I can get to what I want you to see, which is part 2, part 3, part 4, part 6, part 9, which is the greatest one. Um, so
I'm really
I
excited
can't
to
wait,
hear
man.
that episode whenever you guys get to
Dude, we may just have to get you on part 9 just because. So
It'd be the only way
I
I'd
don't
watch
think
it
three
again. So
hey, 3 people shitting on the movie's not enough. It's got to be 4. Oh God, that fucking when we get to that fucking director, he's like, in my head, part 1 happened, and maybe part 2 happened, and then my movie happened. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. All right, your movie shouldn't have happened. You fucking Power Ranger reject. Um, that movie's just so fucking bad. I hate it. I hate it. There's a nice sex scene in it. Other than that, I hate that movie. Let's see here. There's a dog in this movie. There are twins in this movie. The director was like, I kept asking for things. Like, they said, like, can I get a dog in this movie? Like, okay, but that means it's an added expense because you have to get a trainer. He's like, can I get twins? So they got him twins and all that stuff like that. And they came up with these pretty decent death scenes for everybody. But they had to send it to the board, MPA, not MPA.
MPAA.
I don't know, whatever.
It's 2 A's.
Yeah. The people that rate your movies for like gore and nudity and like language and all that stuff. So they would cut out a couple seconds of each frame and then send it back. He said they wore each other out. Like they kept sending like it's just missing one frame to them, so they'd have to watch the entire movie, grade it, send it back. They wore each other out in those 6 weeks, trying to get the movie cut down to where it was suitable for them. The part where I don't know if you noticed, because they have an exterior makeup for Ted White to wear when he's wearing the mask when they're doing the shots, and then obviously they have the full face makeup for Jason when he takes off the mask. I can't help but notice in part 3 and part 4 so far, when they're just wearing the prosthetic makeup around their head, I can't help but notice their normal looking eyebrows through the hockey mask. Like every close up shot they have their face. Like when Trish throws the machete down the middle of his left hand and he looks at it, you see his fucking eyebrows. I'm like, he's obviously very normal looking. I'm like, I mean, I get it, but that's just how the fucking shot is supposed to be. It's just fucking
Interesting. I never
it's
noticed.
one of those things.
Speaking of like,
Oh, dude.
I guess like the humanizing Jason in this movie, and I don't remember it in the previous movies, but towards the end, they have a lot of those chase sequences, and the way Jason runs after the other characters, I don't know, the way it's kind of goofy. He's like running after them like, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you.
I wonder.
Well,
Because I noticed I noticed that too, but you also got to remember that he's still like a human being at this point.
Yeah.
I think later on when he becomes like supernatural, that sort of like goofiness with chasing after people disappears.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's.
I don't remember in the old ones kind of what they did, but I didn't notice that in the other ones.
Yeah.
I think it's
Potato
starting
Sack
to
Jason in part 2.
slow down a little bit at this point. His chase.
Part 2, Potato Sack Jason, he runs around a lot. Part 3, you only see him run a couple times, but then he's kind of limping because she throws that knife into his knee.
Yeah.
And in this movie, I don't think this one I don't look at it as goofy. This is a really aggressive Jason. This is, like I said, I still think this is the best Jason because he's angry. When he's like, you fucking hear him going, and all that shit like that. And it's like, oh shit, when you're 10 years old watching this is going to scare the hell out of you. This is like the last scary Jason you get out of all the movies. There's not one that's fucking terrifying whatsoever. Maybe Derek Mears in the reboot, because I think he did a really good job in that movie. But this one, it's just like, I don't know, man. I love the running. And when you play the Friday the 13th game, parts 2, 3, and 4 Jasons will run. The other Jasons don't run. You just walk real fucking slow, and you can teleport. So, part 6, when it comes around, Jason has this like really long stride walk he does. And I remember as a kid trying to mimic it. Like, his fucking legs are like, it's like if he's walking upstairs, he's skipping 3 steps because he's walking up the stairs. Like, he's got these long ass legs and shit. It's always thought was cool. But yeah, this Jason, like, he chases after Trish. I think it's kind of funny, but he also, this is like the more, I wouldn't call it playful, but you can tell he likes fucking with his opponent, his victims in this movie.
Yeah.
Like the first movies, you see he has the trap set up, or like there's a dead body that falls down, like in Halloween from the tree, and you have that kind of thing. But here, when he's chasing Trish, he does that thing where he stutter steps her before she jumps out the window because he's like trying to get her to scream and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like this is a
He
very
hangs
cool
up
Jason.
somebody's body over the doorway, and then he moves the guy in the shower too. Like, he's definitely putting that fear in him.
Yeah, very much so. I love how he has Crispin Glover like crucified up on the door. I thought that shit was so cool. And when they do that scene where he pushes the body down and the skin just rips, I'm like, ooh,
Oh yeah.
boy, you see that on fucking VHS? That shit don't look as fake as it does now, man. Woo, that's good shit. I did see the behind the scenes too of that scene. They pushes the body down, and then as Jason walks past, Kristen Glover walks back through the door with blood over his face, smiling at the camera. Like, it's a pretty cool little shot. Like, okay, I like that little outtake. I thought that was pretty good.
Hey guys, I'll be back in a second. I need to run the dogs out real quick.
Okay.
Okay, they're gonna run you out
Oh,
of the house.
right out of town.
So I guess we should go with, because I know Gorley and Russ. I mean, I hate like kind of going over the plot, but the plot is kind of formulaic, other than like the characters having more depth to it. I do think this has the best kills so far, like overall. I know I said part 2 had the best kill with the wheelchair. I think this movie has the best kills overall of the 4 movies altogether, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like
I
them.
think so.
I like them in this one. Just having Tom Savini back, it's noticeable how much better the kills are.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, the last 2 were kind of like censored with regards to the kills, right? Like they were kind of really toned down.
That ratings board will fucking, they let the first movie get through, and then after that, when that movie got real successful, they started cracking down on everything. That's why all those kills were really, what do you call it, toned down. But they also, like, part 7 is like the worst movie when it comes to like what the ratings board did, because the director was literally a special effects director, so his shit was fucking crazy, and they let ratings board cut it all down, so it didn't look that good. I will say this, for continuity perspective, Jason's face does not look the same from part 2 to 3 to 4, like,
Not
at all.
at all.
And I'm over here thinking, like, how did he shave that much hair off of his head in part 3 that quickly? Like, I mean, he's completely bald now wearing that cap, and it's funny when you see him part 4, which is literally a couple days later, he has tussles of hair in the back of his head. I didn't notice until today when I was watching it. I'm like, where'd that hair come from? He was like fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin over here. Now he's like Hulk Hogan. Like, hair growing out the sides. Where do you guys... Okay, so Owen,
Yes.
real quick, what is so far, like, so how do you feel about this movie at this point? Like, we're going through like the kills. These characters have a little bit more depth, because that was one of the complaints you said about the last movie. Like, the characters are just here to get killed, so after you reprogram your brain, you say like, okay, I can kind of understand that. I still didn't like the movie, but I understand it. So how do you feel about this movie? Was this movie more to your liking, what you were kind of hoping for at this point?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like this one had a little bit of kind of like something for everyone, you know, like I said earlier, you know, you kind of have your characters there that you can relate with. You know, Tommy and the Jarvis family, and then you have, you know, the teenagers where you can just kind of turn your brain off and have fun watching them get their asses killed. Um, and I don't know, some of the stuff in here is pretty funny. Like we were mentioning the corkscrew stuff. I like that. That was kind of funny. The dog jumping out of the window for no reason was pretty funny.
The
Very
guy
happily.
working in the morgue, he's like, Jesus Christmas, holy Jesus.
I like when he sits down. He's like, I forget what he says. He's like, "Thanks for waiting for me, ladies," or some shit.
No, he goes, "Hi, girls.
And then it's like
Thanks for waiting for me."
the aerobic ladies are like fucking like gyrating or something. Like it's
I
so
know, what-
ridiculous looking.
What TV station was airing this jazzercise thing at like 10 o'clock at night?
Where they all have their like asses pressed against each other, gyrating, like with their hands on their ankles. And he's like, "Oh no."
Speaking of Christmas Vacation, when he does that, holy Jesus, goddamn, he does
Yeah.
all that. I'm thinking about Christmas Vacation when he's like, "Merry Christmas," the holy shit. Where's the Tylenol?
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, this.
I
I felt like this one had like a little bit more.
I really,
humor, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I
This one
agree.
had humor and didn't forsake Jason for the humor.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you
Like Jason is
you don't want to make fun of Jason.
Jason is serious
but,
in this,
you know.
but like all the stuff around him is kind of humorous, and I kind of like that
Yes.
dynamic. It makes it a lot more interesting than the previous ones, which are kind of everything is really serious, and none of it. I mean, it's not serious, but
have
like it doesn't feel like. So like in part 3, you know, they have the dumbass like biker gang punks. And it's goofy, but it doesn't feel like the director's like winking at the audience, like, "Oh, look how goofy these guys are." You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not.
You have Shelley though in the third one, and he's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Did y'all talk about the scene where they're like watching that film reel that the guy found?
No, not yet. No, we're going to. We're going to get there. Don't worry. I'm asking Owen, like, at this point, like, had this movie, because he said the last movie he had to shut his brain off for to understand, okay, it's just Jason killing people. I'm like, did this movie have a little more depth for you to enjoy? And he was kind of saying, yeah, kind of. It still had a lot of stuff I didn't like, but there was some more things in it that were better. Like, this is the formula that you hate, Cody, I think, like, improved, like, to the max. Like, at this point, it is, like, outplayed, but they've done the best they could with it.
Yeah.
So, Cody, we got to the point where it's like we've already talked about, like Jason in the morgue, which is a pretty fucking good kill with the guy in the morgue that he kills.
Yeah,
They
I think
showed
that
the
might be my
spot.
favorite kill of the movie. Really.
Okay. That spot when they do it, it's like they have a fake saw underneath his neck. And I seen this shot too. It's real funny because Ted White's got the Jason get up on him. He doesn't have the hockey mask, so he's doing it, and you have the fake blood coming out of his throat. And then they have a shot of him holding the guy's face, and then the next shot is the fake body, and then his head facing backwards after he breaks it. And then they originally had a more extended shot that got cut down to what you saw. Like, it was more like kind of brutal, but I think they said this looked better because this was completely the actor in all 3 of the shots when he gets killed without seeing any prosthetics. So it was a better kill after they had to cut it down. But that one's pretty cool. And the chick, the in the hospital they kills, there was a bobby pin or something that was in her cap on her head. So when he grabs her face and throws her against the wall, they impale the back of her head by accident, is what they said. They said she was fine. That was something Wardrobe wasn't really paying attention to. It was like, oh shit.
Jeez.
And when they pick her up for that shot when he stabs her and the blood comes down. They have a big thing that holds her against the wall, and when they spray the fake blood, it looks like it's her period coming out. And it just shows everybody laughing behind the shot, and she's laughing too. It's like, oh my god! It actually looks like you just see his blood trickle down the ground. Then you look up and see her skirt bleeding right where her crotch is, and it's fucking funny. It's just, I guess the hose got loose or whatever for it. But yeah, Jason, he's going to attack these kids slowly but surely. It took a while to get some kills, but then when he does it, like the guy in the shower, which is kind of like reverse of Psycho. Instead of the attractive female that the killer kills, it's an attractive male, and Jason just crushes his fucking head. And Tom Savini told Ted, the guy who plays Jason, he goes, "Now, when you do this, we only have one of these dummy heads for you to do this to. So don't go all in with it." But the director's telling him, like, no, just destroy it, you know? So he had two different people telling different things, and they did a shot. And the shot is it literally from, like, the top of your chest up, just a big puppet head. They actually have a hand underneath it maneuvering the head back as he's getting crushed and, like, sticking the tongue out and shit. Like, there's no stand-in actor, like, wearing a prosthetic head over or anything like that. It was a pretty cool little shot. Like, just seeing the behind the scenes of it. But Cody, you said, like, this movie. So what's a positive of this movie, Cody, that you actually liked, that you weren't bored of?
Well,
All right, next, Owen. What's a positive?
Just kind of like, I don't. Cody, go ahead and answer. Sorry.
I don't know if I have an answer, to be honest. I mean, like, to me, the first half of it's boring. So, but when Jason actually finally starts killing people, I guess it gets a little. I mean, it's not so boring anymore. And I guess maybe it's because they wanted to try and add some depth to these characters, but I don't know. I know all three of you have talked about the depth of the characters and everything in this, but I still don't really see it all that much. I mean, yeah, they have a little bit more depth. I mean, they're better than just generic camper getting murdered, but it's still not like.
Cody, this is the best you're gonna get in a slasher movie, buddy.
Yeah, I think they're not trying to do more than this for sure. But yeah, you're right though. It's not anything more.
Yeah, I think that the first. I mean, obviously the movie's only an hour and a half, so it's not like it's a huge time sink or anything. But like, I don't know.
It's not The Last Jedi, if you know what I mean. All right.
The first 45 minutes, I just don't know. I feel like the first 45 minutes of this film feels extremely long, and then the last half of it feels really quick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like my sex life. It's like 45 minutes and 45 seconds. So, Owen, are you kind of like more in sync with Cody on this, Owen?
Honestly, yeah, a little bit. I mean, I do agree with Cody. You know, like, yeah, these characters aren't groundbreaking or anything, and most of the teens, you know, the teens aren't really interesting except for. I mean, there's really nothing interesting about the teens who like moved into the next door house. It's just, I think the one thing that gives this a little something more is, like I said, the Jarvis family kind of being actual protagonists that are like likable. So
yeah, because as far as the teens go, like the most in-depth storyline they were really doing was the whole, like, one of the twins trying to steal away the one guy. But I mean, that pretty much was just, it didn't go anywhere because his girlfriend ran off and got killed.
I can't remember most of their names either.
I can't.
We also have the like the really shy girl, and it seems like they're setting her up to be the final girl almost.
Yeah, it did
She's
come
like,
off
I'm
like
in love
that.
with
I was
this guy.
surprised when she died. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I think they're trying to swerve you for sure in that part.
Yeah.
All right, so Cody, Alex, this is our favorite one, or your favorite one, and my second favorite one at least. Where are you at with this? So, as you can tell, this is a tough crowd I'm recording with. Because Alex was like, "How do they like part 3?" I'm like, "Look, buddy, I like it, but yeah." That's all. That's all I said to him in the text message. I'm like, not an episode that they like. So how are you feeling about this, Alex? Because I mean, I still think this is like the strongest one of the franchise. If they don't like this one, it's gonna be a long trek for the next 8 movies.
I love Jason
I-
X, brother.
Cody, you love Jason X right now. When you watch Jason X, you will not love Jason X.
No kill
It
I've
does
seen
not
so
age well.
far is better than the liquid nitrogen kill.
That kill is not even that good.
What? Girl,
Go
it's
back
like,
and
what?
watch it. The special effects are fucking terrible. And the sleeping bag kill that you reference is better done in part 7 than it is in part 10.
Well, I guess
They copied
I
that
haven't
from
seen
part
part
7.
7, so I wouldn't know that. Now would I?
Exactly. You're gonna be.
I
You're,
remember really liking Jason X when I watched it as a kid, and then or as a teenager, I guess it was, and then like everything with the army guys fighting, it felt like so this big epic showdown, and it looks so bad like watching it now.
Now I will say I
It's-
probably haven't seen it in probably 15 years at least. So
it's
But the same
fucking
reason I like a
bad.
lot of these movies is it's just dumb fun, and that's you know, this one I think it takes itself seriously, but it knows what it is, and it's better than like part 3 in that respect. But I still like part 3. I think it lands. I said it's not. I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but it's just fun to me. Part 4 I think manages to be like what you want out of a slasher movie like this, and so I'm still definitely enjoying it. Even now, watching it for the 7th or 8th time, it's just like a nice comfort film almost, which is weird when you think about it like a slasher movie, but that's how it feels to me.
Yeah. And that's what these movies are for me when I watch them. It's a comfort watch. I'm not watching them because I don't care which movies you're watching. There's not one scary movie out there. If you watch it more than 5 times, it's actually still scarier to you. They're made to scare you the first couple times for you to buy a movie ticket, purchase the physical media or the digital media to get your money for it. There's not a lot of depth to it.
I don't
Like
know.
that last Evil Dead movie that came out, Cody was like, "Oh, it's one of the greatest things ever," and I did not care for it. I'm like, it's okay.
I didn't say
After a
that.
while, when you see the final
didn't-
monster, it was kind of
I
dumb.
didn't say it was the greatest thing ever. I said the first 2/3 of it were amazing, and it like shat the bed in the last third of the film because he had a
Hey,
fucking
new
rat
Evil
king
Dead
crawling.
movie?
Yeah, Evil Dead
Yeah.
Rise. Because you had a
Yeah,
big
I
rat
liked
king
it.
Deadeye walking around. It's like this is stupid.
I know,
but-
like because none of those movies, like even the haunting movies, like Conjuring or the Blair Witch and shit like that, when you get to the point when you see that final whatever, either the Nun or Annabelle, whatever, you see it more than twice, it loses its luster. Really.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just the thing. It's like, fuck, man. After a while, the music just does not hide it. And I understand now why all these movies are shot at dark to hide either the CGI or the special effects, where they make it, or how they make the magic happen, quote unquote.
I think
But
the
it's
only
like-
the only movie I could use it as an example to counterpoint what you're saying, because I agree with you, but the one film that no matter how many times I've seen it still creeps me the fuck out is Hereditary.
Well,
Like-
Cody, I wouldn't know because you picked Rumpelstiltskin over that. Okay, but
Rumpelstiltskin. Hereditary's freaky. I mean, even watching Blair Witch Project, the first one now, it still scares me. Like, it's just so eerie.
Yeah, it's
we've
been a
watched
minute since I've seen
Rumpelstiltskin.
seen the original Blair Witch Project. But yeah,
But
Alex, we
I
watched
think there's,
Rumpelstiltskin
you
over
have those
Hereditary.
horror movies that are, I mean, not to say elevated like that, what people call elevated now, but you have horror movies that are trying to be like good movies, good
Yeah.
overall movies, and then you have the ones that are like, let's just have fun with it, and like I think they both are fun to do. Like
for
both
sure.
of them.
But I think sometimes it's a fine balance, right? I mean, because there are definitely horror movies that try to be like really good, like, oh, let's add a lot of meaning to this, and they end up just being really boring. And then there's the other side of it, like Terrifier, where it's like, oh yeah, this is just supposed to be a dumb, fun slasher movie, and it just, I don't have a problem with gore typically, but like the Terrifier movies are just fucking disgusting, and they're disgusting without reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I watched like the first half of Terrifier 2, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't
saw
do
one
this.
of the kill scenes in that, and I'm like, all right, that's all I need to see.
Yeah,
there's the one where like he pours salt on her back or whatever, that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of fucked up things in that, and that's what that type of like the director's like, yeah, I'm just making a good classic slasher movie, and it's like, no, you're fucking getting these weirdos online to like your movie because it's just fucking disgusting for the sake of being disgusting. Like,
It's gore porn.
Wait, what movie?
yeah, Terrifier
The Terrifier movies.
with that dumbass clown.
What was that? Owen was like, oh. I'm like, what?
He's like, I'm scared already.
He's like, oh.
What happens in this
I mean, if
movie?
he likes it.
There's
you can
there's
Google
an
it, man.
evil clown
Yes.
who I really don't know what the fucking like origin of him is exactly, but he basically just goes on like murder sprees. And the first one is just purely that. Like, it doesn't really have a story or anything. The second one, they try to add a story, which it's super fucking boring when they focus on the story. And then the rest of it's just like, oh, it's just gore porn. And they try to make the main character out to be like his like antithesis, where she's like this teenage girl and she's actually like this valiant hero or whatever. And it's like, this is, I don't know. It's fucking dumb.
That does sound lame.
Oh.
I thought it would be cooler.
Also,
from what you were
I
describing.
also don't like the director very much because he's like, basically in an interview, like he like trash talked like modern horror movies, and it's like, okay, but whatever. But I still gave his movie a chance, and it sucks. They both suck.
He said Scooby-Doo 2 fucking sucks. Okay?
A slasher movie, like I said, I don't like a lot of the gore. Like, the stuff that really, like, I didn't like a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff just because it was too much gory for me as a kid. I enjoyed the newest one that came out in 2022 a lot. Like, just, it was a lot of fun for me as a slasher movie. Like, I enjoyed it. A lot of people said, this movie's as bad as you guys think Halloween Kills is. I'm like, no, I mean, this movie's having fun. Halloween Kills is trying to get over Evil Dies Tonight like we're doing a dueling, let's go Cena sucks chant. And all that. Like, the movies that we've watched, like, Jason's just an easier watch. It may be a little boring, but it's done in an hour and a half versus, like, some of the shit that's out there for me. Like, I wouldn't watch the Blair Witch Project. I watch them. They're scary, but it's not scary anymore. Any of the ghost movies that I watched, I got scared the first time. I watched them, like, 2 or 3 more times. It's like, okay, this really ain't scary anymore. I know what's about to happen. And Jason, it's a comfort thing. It's like, if I'm going to watch Cheers or I'm going to watch Friday the 13th Part 6, how about just watch them both? So, yeah, I knew.
Put Jason
I
in the bar.
Well, dude, when you said, Alex, you'd watched Spider-Man No Way Home with Logan, and I know your son's name was Logan, but in my head I was picturing you were watching No Way Home, and then on the computer screen you had Logan playing, and you and the computer were watching Spider-Man No Way Home. That's what I was kind of thinking in my head, and I'm thinking, oh wait, he has a son named Logan that I've made this Wolverine joke about a lot. So, yeah. So I'm over here like he's got the computer screen. All right, Logan, we're gonna watch No Way Home. Okay, he's really good. The computer, it's like Robocop 2.
The movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Robocop 2. I don't think anybody's watched it in this group, but the main villain is Kane, and he's a drug dealer, and they put his brain in this big fucking hulking metal body, and they call it Robocop 2. Well, computer screen pops out, and you see Kane's face. And I'm over here just thinking that's what Alex is doing when he's showing Logan to Spider-Man No Way Home. It's really fucking great. Speaking of RoboCop, Cody actually just watched the original, 2 weeks ago, Cody, and you loved it?
Yeah, I watched the first 2, and I really did like them. I tried to watch the third one, and I was just really tired that day. I fell asleep like after the first 15 minutes, but
so you watched part 2 too?
Oh, I thought part 2. I actually like part 2 more than part 1.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, part 1's great. I love it, but obviously they focus a lot on like what RoboCop's place is, kind of, whereas part 2 like added more of like an actual like story to it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I loved him. I loved him so much that I went and I played RoboCop Rogue City immediately afterward, and even like got like the platinum trophy in it and shit, because I was like, man, I'm just like fucking all in with RoboCop right now. And then like I said,
Cody had only seen the 2014 reboot at this point before you watched those two, right?
I had never seen any RoboCop movies.
Yeah, I thought we went to go see it together, RoboCop.
No, I have the Blu-ray for the remake or whatever, the reboot. Just because I was at a Dollar General one day and it was like $5. I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll buy it. But I think it's still in the plastic.
Do you like the remake, Lance?
I have only watched it twice. I remember liking it in theaters, but also thinking like, this isn't the same. I kind of wish we had just brought back, Peter Welker. Oh, Peter Weller, whoever you say his last name. That's why I liked Mortal Kombat 11. They had RoboCop in there. They actually had him come in and do the lines. They scanned his face for it. But yeah, that reboot was okay. That's when we're in like heavy in that reboot era, which is funny. That reboot era really started in like 03 with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then 07 was Halloween, 09 was Friday the 13th, 10 was Nightmare on Elm Street, but then you got like Black Christmas. They rebooted at the same time. They did RoboCop
My Bloody
and shit.
Valentine in there.
It was okay. I wish it was if it had a better script. The first two movies, I just love the first two RoboCops like a lot. I showed Savannah one of them. She's like, that's actually pretty good. I'm like, yeah, the fuck it is. It's fucking gory as hell, too.
Yeah, I think
like Ed 209 when he falls down the stairs.
That's what surprised me about watching the first one is like, holy shit. Like, I know, like, when they kill Alex Murphy, it's like, oh my god. Like, I didn't think it was going to get this, like, brutal, but yeah.
He did Red from that 70s show is like, no.
Every time he was on screen, that's all I could think of. Was that show, was that 70s show or whatever, and it's like, oh man, I wish it was somebody else in
and the funny thing is, dude, I've never really watched that show. Like I've watched some of it, but I always knew him from the guy from RoboCop, and every time I see him, I just think about him spitting the blood on the cop's paperwork. He was just give me my fucking phone call. And then the one he's like, come on guys, he's like slams like. The Reds play, not the Reds, the Pistons play tonight or some shit. I never miss a game. He's such a good fucking like actor in that movie. That fucking first RoboCop movie is great. I love part 2 too, but that one's not well received whatsoever.
I've never seen.
Alex,
yeah,
have you seen those
the
movies?
Second one. I've only seen the first one, and the remake.
Oh, okay,
I didn't really like the remake though.
Yeah, you gotta watch part 2. Kane is like a real souped up version of Ed 209, but he's a lot more scarier. Like he was scarier to me as a kid. And I love how it's all like motion capture when they make this shit, and they still make it work when you're watching it. So the special effects are really great on RoboCops.
Also, one thing that I thought, I guess we're just talking about RoboCop now, but one thing that I thought about watching RoboCop is like, man, these like executives in this boardroom just see a lot of fucking murder, because there's so many people that get killed in that boardroom. Like when the Ed 209 is in there, they're like the guy's like trying to demonstrate it or whatever, and it just like fucking murders somebody.
Yeah, he's like, drop your weapon. He drops it. He's like, you have 13 seconds to comply. And he's like, oh, he's like running around the room and shit like that.
And then RoboCop
I love that part.
And then, bad guy.
Yeah, that shit was fucking. But when they do that, when he drops the gun in that demonstration scene, and then Ed 209 like fucking roars and then repeats, it has like 10 seconds. That shit scared the fuck out of me as a kid when that fucking Ed 209 roared like that. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? And then it falls down the stairs and acts like a little baby. He's like, can't get up and shit.
Yeah, that roaring sounds like ingrained in my brain now. Because like I said, I played Rogue City, and like Ed 209s are in that quite a bit, and they make that roaring sound a lot. Yeah. I will, and I
Good
was like,
shit.
out of the 15 minutes that I saw of RoboCop 3, or yeah, the 15 minutes or so, I didn't like at all. There's just like one of my pet
It's
peeves is like when a movie's like an action movie or whatever is going to focus on like a little kid, which is what that seemed like it was doing, at least for the beginning. And I was like, oh man. So I didn't. That's why I haven't really bothered to go back and like try and finish watching it.
it's not it's not good. It's a different actor playing Alex too. So it's I remember watching. There's like a Japanese samurai like robotic thing that they created as an adversary that he's fighting. He loses his arm, but he gets a gun put on his arm and shit. So it's mainly like it's okay. At this point, we're trying to sell toys,
Yeah.
but it's okay. I don't. I wasn't too keen on it. The first two are great, and I know that Rogue City game takes place between 2 and 3,
Yeah.
so it leads into that.
Yeah, and
Um, but
it's got
getting
the original actor and everything in that too.
hmm which he's more receptive. He left part 3. I think now he says it's because the script was bad, but he left part 3. He didn't want to be typecasted. Everybody didn't want to be Christopher Reeve, where you're stuck as, oh, hey, that's Superman.
Until you
You know,
get
you don't want to
until
be
you fall
stuck
off the
as,
horse.
ooh,
Jeez.
boy. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, man. Sometimes you get thrown off that horse, you just don't get back up. Anywho, that's pretty fucked up, man. Going back to Friday the 13th. There was a crippled guy that got thrown down a flight of stairs in part 2. So let's just tie it back together real quick. He looked kind of like Christopher Reeve with the black hair combed over and everything.
Christopher Reeve saw that movie and he was like, "Man, I wish I was like that guy."
Christopher Reeve watched that movie and was like, "Boy, I have the strangest sense of foreboding in my entire life right now." This was like deja vu. Anywho, that's pretty fucked up. R.I.P. Christopher Reeve. But yeah, and that's a lot of times like you had a different actor playing Jason so far. In obviously part 1 it's a kid, but part 2, part 3, part 4 it's all different. And they asked Ted White to come back for 5 and 6. He turned them both down. He said he wished he didn't. He wasn't proud at the time, but now he looked back at them in fondness. He died in 2022 at the age of 96, so he had a long life. But yeah, like I say, he's my favorite Jason. No disrespect to Kane Harder, who we'll see for 4 movies coming up. And I love part 6 Jason too. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into final thoughts, and I'll get Alex's final thoughts on the franchise as a whole, just in case we can't work out him being in another episode. So Cody, final thoughts on this movie and the franchise thus far. If you had to rank the movies, I should say.
If
Give
I
me your
had to
ranking.
if I had to rank them right now, it would be 2, 1, 4, 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this movie, like I said earlier, the formula's getting a little tired. I'm looking forward to. I know the reason why people don't like Part 5, and I'm not going to say it because I don't know if Owen's aware, but
It's not watched it yet now.
okay, yeah. So I know the reason, but I'm still just looking forward to like there being a time jump and like getting away from like
Space.
all this shit just happening like at the same time, you know. So maybe that'll help, at least in my mind, and trying to like overanalyze it or whatever. It helped like alleviate some of that criticism at least.
Well,
But
it's you're talking like they have a time jump for a couple years forward, but it still looks like 1987. It's gonna look kind of weird. You're like, wait a minute, if we're supposed to be in like 1996, why does this look like 1988?
yeah,
But so if you had to rank the Jasons out of 2, 3, and 4, how would you rank them? Like appearance and how you like them.
I think if I just basing on the Jasons, I would do 4-3-2.
Okay.
I do think that 3 may have been higher up if it wasn't for the fact that he did spend most of the movie with a limp, or a large portion of the movie with a limp.
And Blue Chew straighten that out.
Yeah, and we kind of made fun of Part 2 Jason quite a bit because I don't even remember.
Who's
the
we?
reasons.
You guys did. I did.
Me and Owen made fun of Part 2 Jason.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make fun of any of these movies until we get to 5 and 9. All right, let's just not even say that right now.
Yeah, because who can forget the great kill where he hits the sheriff over the head with a hammer? He's like, "Oh God,
He goes,
damn!"
"Oh my
Well,
god!"
That was that was the back of the hammer going into the guy's skull. It wasn't just hitting a hammer on his head.
Right.
That
It was it was
That was
honestly
spade to spade.
mostly the sheriff who did like the shitty acting. It was mostly his fault that it looked so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jason with a sack on his head is just kind of. It's definitely not like an iconic like image either.
They should put a
like
fucking.
obviously once he gets the hockey mask.
They should have put a paper bag
Sack
over
on
his
these
head.
nuts. Or put a plastic bag over his head and just be a metaphor for pollution. All right, Owen. So we'll go ahead and get your thoughts so far. Oh, Cody, you don't recommend this movie?
Yeah, I think I do recommend this movie. If you're a slasher fan, you should.
What the
you
fucking
dig it.
180?
Yeah, that was unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend
I'm like,
it.
all this shit. Cody's like, I'm fucking tired of this formula. Jason can suck my nuts. My dog
if you-
gotta go out. I
Yeah,
recommend the movie.
If you
What?
skip the first three and just go straight to this one.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're not watching them all back to back, then yeah. I mean, if you were just like, man, I want to watch a slasher movie and put this in, you'd have a good time with it. It's just, I think watching them so close together, it's like that's what's killing it for me, you know.
And to be honest with you, if you just watch this one, you'd get the montage at the beginning. So,
Yeah, so it explains.
that would kind of help
That's
out
true.
on filling in this. Yeah, okay. Cody recommended it. Holy shit, Alex. I mean, fuck. Cody, Alex, this is John Cena kicking out when all 5 Nexus members were pinning him in SummerSlam 2010.
Oh,
And this is the comeback for Jason at this point, Alex. This is what's happening. All right, Owen. So far, okay, do you recommend this movie? What are your thoughts on the franchise if you had to rank the movies and rank the Jasons for me so
I
far?
think if you're going to watch any of the Friday the 13th, yeah, watch this one. So far, this one's the best one. It has the most things in it that work. I want to say my ranking of the movie is probably this one first. I want to say, I know, I think, honestly, I would probably go this one, then 3, then 2, then 1. So just, going down. And, if I had to do which Jason I thought was the coolest, it would probably be the same, 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. I mean, obviously 1 doesn't have Jason in it, but, I mean, it does, but...
Yeah, I know, I
you
got
still got
you.
Frog Boy
yeah,
Jason.
you
at the
got...
end.
Yeah,
Little frog boy Jason. That's what Gorley and Russ called him.
yeah, so...
So, do you recommend the movie, though? This
Yeah,
one?
yeah. If you don't like slashers, no. But like what Cody said, I feel like if you have any interest in watching Friday the 13th, I would probably just watch this one first, and then take it from there. If you really like it, then I guess watch the other ones, the first couple ones.
Holy shit, man. Alex, this is like a plane dive we hadn't seen since 9/11, and we pulled it up.
Well, I mean, it's not even like
Couldn't
super
believe it.
positive. It's just like it's okay.
Oh, getting a recommended from you guys is what I consider a positive. Okay, I don't do this. Is this 5 stars? If this is a 6-star match in the Tokyo Dome, or is just 1 star? I do thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think?
We should come
But,
back.
you know,
with
I'm gonna
part
go with me.
5. Owen and I should come back in part 5 and just be like, oh my god, this is like the best movie I've ever seen in my life.
Man, if you guys did that, I know you're on something. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and we're gonna finish off with Alex, since I'm gonna get more of hopefully a longer answer out of Alex for his. But I would definitely recommend this movie. It's the best Friday the 13th so far, and I would say probably overall. Probably, if not my favorite, my second favorite Jason. So he's either 1A or 1B. And I would have to rank it 4, and I would probably say 3 and then 2 in that order. I love part 3 Jason, just the way he looks, just the clean look before he gets all the damage. Then I think Richard Broker was a cool Jason. I mean, he was tall too. Like, they were all pretty tall. Like, when we get to part 6, the guy who plays him is like 6'2". The guy who plays Jason in Part 3, Richard Brooker, is 6'3". Ted White's like 6'4". These are all big motherfuckers that play Jason. He's 5'10" in Part 2.
Yeah, and
So nothing.
they also have big hogs because when he's chasing after people, you can hear it slapping against his thighs when he runs.
He's got like a weird limp.
It's because
heard
his
he's
dick
got
is
3
weighing his
balls,
leg
too.
down. No, one of them's on the side of his head because it's got that big point. But yeah, I would recommend this movie. This is the best Jason. You rank it that way. So far, I don't know how I would think if I just watched these movies 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I started watching them. I watched 6, then I watched 2, then I watched 4, then I watched 3, then we watched 5, then we watched 7, then 8, and then unfortunately 9. And watched 1 at some point in there. But, you know, and because the thing is, like, when I got into these movies, I'm 10 years old. That's 1998. Jason X didn't come out until 2002. So I had 4 years to catch up on all the movies. So I had seen all 9 of them by the time I saw Jason X. But yes, I would definitely say this is probably like the one. This or Part 6 are the ones I'm going to grab the first to watch. And this is the first time I've watched these movies in a long time since my grandma passed away. So, you know, it's pretty cool to see it again. It brings back a lot of good memories. So going to Alex, sir. At this point in the franchise, 1, 2, 3, 4, obviously you hadn't seen them in a while. But when you did your first watch through, I guess, say 2017, 7 years ago now, when you watched them as you were going through the Gorley and Rust episodes, how are you feeling? Like, how do you rank the Jasons? Do you recommend this movie? What is your thoughts going forward on the franchise without any spoilers for the next movie, quote unquote? You know,
I think this is the best one. It's my favorite one out of them all. Just to say that. I think this one too would have been so much fun. All of them probably would have, but to see it like in theaters with a crowded audience of people who are just really into slasher movies, because it's got things you laugh at. It's got good kills. It's got good characters and actors in it. So it just all comes together really well. It has the teenagers, but there's no camp. That's like the one thing that's missing. You kind of have it at the beginning, but I would say that's the one thing that's missing from it. If I was gonna rank them, I would go 4, 2, 3, 1. I think 2 doesn't have the iconic mask and everything, but I really like 2, and then I think 3 is still a fun ride, and I still like 1 also, even though it doesn't have Jason as a killer. And then the Jasons, I would probably be the same, 4, 2, 3 for my rankings. And I do like this as my favorite Jason also out of all of them. I definitely recommend it. If you're a slasher fan, this is one, like, if you could only watch one of the Jason movies, I feel like this would be the one to recommend. And then if you're just somebody who likes to watch horror, this is just one of those, like, let's just have a fun ride. It's not gonna do it's not Hereditary or anything like that. And then going forward in the franchise, not to spoil anything, I really don't like 5. It's probably my second to least favorite. So we'll see what you feel, Owen and Cody. But the rest of them, that one and Jason Goes to Hell, are the only 2 that I would say I don't like. The rest of them I really still like. I like how bad they can be, but I like the kills. It's still fun, just a fun ride to me.
Part 6 is really different from all of them too. Like, that's a movie I think Cody's really gonna like because he likes Scream.
Yeah, I'd say
that movie
Part 6 is
influenced
my
the writing of Scream.
third favorite. I like 2 more than 6. Sorry, Lance, but and then 6 for me.
Does Jason call people?
This is what I thought I know you. Yeah, Cody, that's what the fuck he does.
Is Jason what, Cody? What'd you say?
I said, does Jason call people?
Does he
in that
cock
movie?
on people? Oh, I thought you
like,
said he throws his
what's
cock
your
on
favorite?
people.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite scary movie? Not even scary. It's just like, what's your favorite movie?
Yeah.
Big cinephile.
I'm sitting outside the theater right now. I'm having a hard time deciding.
It's like, just looking for something to watch.
Fucking
Keep in mind, I only got one functioning eyeball, so
No 3D, please.
it's fucking funny with I did that one movie, man, and fuck those guys. Alex, we remember in the episodes they cover Halloween with Gorley and Rust, and they're trying
Yeah.
to come up what would Michael's voice sounds like, and he's like, Laurie, I'm just hiding behind a mailbox. He's like, Judas was a communist spy. I'm just a red-blooded American.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm sure Jason would be like, "Dar," because he would be riding the short bus
He probably
if he was
sounds like
alive.
what's his name from the Goonies?
Sloth.
Oh no,
Sloth.
Sloth, yeah.
Yes.
It'd be really funny if like Jason was really good at making sound effects, like that guy from the Police Academy. Like, it's like, what the hell is that? It's like all the times you hear like leaves rustling and trees cracking, and it's just Jason making the noise with his mouth, like. It's like not even sound
That'd be
effects.
awesome.
People are like, man, it's so lifelike.
I guess he had to have some kind of hobby when he was living in the woods all those years.
He's obviously I wouldn't say an excellent marksman because he misses every time, but he throws a pretty good hammer and knife when he does it. And I love that shot in 3 when he takes the knife out of his knee and throws it at her and hits the door jam right behind her head. I'm like, God, I fucking just love how he just like fucking flings that shit, slings that monkey poo around.
I like it when he throws the hammer in this one. It's really funny. He's like, ugh.
It's
I
funny
like
at
it
the,
when
at the end of
Goldberg-
that hammer throw, you like see how they like stuck it in the wall or whatever, because the way it sticks and it just doesn't look like it's possible for it to actually stick to the wall that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like how the door explodes when he goes through it. Like it's just that fucking shit just looks awesome. Like holy shit, man! I think I want to have his babies. But anyway, so that's Friday the 13th Part 4 mixed in with Robocop and wrestling.
Well, wrestling is just a given
What was I
listening
gonna
to this show.
I mean, it is like so much of wrestling. I mean, it's Hollywood. It's always been like Hollywood, and you just like if you want to know what goes on behind the scenes of a movie, just look what goes on behind the scenes of a WrestleMania. It's the exact same fucking thing. I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm not calling wrestling fake because I have respect for the wrestlers. I'm just saying, like from a production standpoint, it's pretty incredible. Like this shit would be really boring if it was real. I'm going to tell you that right fucking now. But yeah, so that's Friday the 13th Part 4. Our next movie will be Owen. He probably hasn't decided yet, but we'll ask him anyway.
Well, the next.
It's Shrek 2, Owen. We've already made up your
Yeah,
mind.
I was gonna say like the.
Shrek 2
It's
and
Shrek
1.
Well,
and
remember
two.
Owen's episode after this one won't. Shrek 1 and your Shrek 1 and 2 episode will be before this episode comes out. So
Oh,
this will
shit.
be whatever your episode
Fuck.
would be after that.
No, we gotta record the whole episode again. I done messed up. Cody, you can't edit this
Wait a
out.
minute. Isn't Cody's episode next or?
No, we have to do the Shrek one because it got fucked up, so we have to have it. So
Yeah,
I can edit
buddy.
it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
Owen, you did that for us, remember? So, okay, let's break
So-
this down real quick, Owen.
So
I just got done with Friday the 13th Part 4. We have to do Shrek 2 and 1 at the same time. Thank you very much. Then we get to record Cody's back to back. And
No, it's-
then we're
it's-
back in order at that point.
It's not even back to back because okay, this will probably all get cut out. Here's the recording order for the next few episodes. The next episode will be Shrek and Shrek 2 because it's fixing the mess up from last time.
It's a double
then,
pack.
Then it'll be Elm Street. Then it will be whatever Owen's
first Elm
movie.
Street?
Yeah, the first one.
Yep.
Then it'll be whatever Owen's pick is next after the Shrek 2 one. Then it'll be Elm Street 2, and then we should be back on track slightly because then we'll be Friday 13th Part 5, Owen's pick, the original Nosferatu. Then we'll do the whole like going to the theater and seeing the new Nosferatu, and fucking Nat. and then it'll be Friday 13th Part 6 and so on and so on. So, yeah. So the order's screwed up.
Okay,
It will
Owen.
release in the correct order though.
All right, Owen. So, all right, 1, 2, 3, clap. Owen's next movie is what's going to be after your Shrek, Owen?
Shit, I don't know. I haven't picked yet. they'll hear on the Shrek episode, I guess.
Okay.
I mean,
Episode
they're
will
gonna
come
hear
out
it before
before
this
this
one,
one.
right? I mean, like, you know, don't.
I know, but you're not going to remember.
Yeah, see, so they'll know. They'll know going into this if
Yeah,
they watched.
they'll know, and then they'll listen to this one, and you'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
you
what's
tell
funny,
me, audience.
Fucking funny
what's
is
you tell me, audience. What did I say?
Comment
What's
below
fucking-
if you know what Owen's pick was.
Yeah,
yeah, Sarah. Comment below. You're the only one.
loyal listener.
I
What's
don't know,
fucking funny is
We did have 1,200
Like,
views
our-
on the
our-
Fury Road, so
well, our Spotify, which is what I thought our main source of like listening is, has dwindled to like 10 listens an episode.
oh,
So
yeah,
at least
I
we're
know.
hitting double digits. Like we had some that hit like one hit 200. We're like, this is gonna be great, and it's like down to 10. But,
but our
fucking
YouTube-
YouTube, dude, is blowing the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like we have 20 subscribers on YouTube. We only have 18 Spotify followers, which doesn't make any sense. So I guess
And
nobody's
the
actually listening to
Spotify
us without
followers,
their
that's
hate.
Spotify followers after like 4 years of doing this.
It's fucking nuts, man. I don't get it. Like, I know I've subscribed to Filmoscopy on my mom's account, my dad's account, my account, Savannah's account. So I'm like, okay, that's 5 people out of 20. So Cody's probably subscribed. I know Owen doesn't because Owen doesn't even do anything online with us. And I know Alex is and Sarah is. I'm like, I don't know who the other like 9 people are.
Hey,
So
there are
it's
people
kind of
that
cool.
gave
I
us a
think
shot and
Jacob
liked it.
probably is. I don't know if he listens
Okay.
anymore.
I never hear any feedback from Jacob. Hell, the only time we ever hear from Jacob is in the group chat.
Yeah. I don't hear from him
Alex is like,
hardly.
yeah, me too. I was like, we don't even. He's my brother. We don't even talk. So we've already. So Owen has his movie. Insert name here, and then Cody's got A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Part 2.
Wow, that
So,
movie you
Alex.
picked- Owen, I can't wait.
Yeah,
for
I
that.
know that movie's gonna kick
I
ass.
fucking can't wait either.
Actually, no, that movie
Yeah,
sucks.
we
What
should,
the fuck are you talking about?
My next movie after
Hey,
this
what about,
episode will be Elm Street 2.
Man,
Okay.
that one's-
Well,
I haven't
Alex,
watched
I don't
that
know
one
if
before.
I don't know if you've kept up.
Evidently,
I don't know if you've kept up, but the whole thing is like I wanted to line up the Elm Street stuff sort of with Lance doing Friday the 13th, so that when they're both done, we could do Freddy versus Jason.
Oh, hell yeah, that's awesome.
and I've never seen Elm Street 2 through 6, so I've only seen the good ones. Well, 2 of the good ones, and then the
what one
reboot.
in the reboot?
One is
No.
good, 3 is good, 4 is fun.
Yes,
I don't
so-
know how you're gonna feel about 2 and 5.
Yeah, so I've seen 1, of course, and I've seen 7, which I really like 7. And then the reboot is what it is. So
Yeah, I like 7 a lot too. That's a good one.
So Alex, real quick, just since you've seen all these movies, because I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 3, 7, and the reboot. Where would you rank? Like, is this Friday the 13th Part 4 better than any of the nightmares you've seen, or would you say one of the nightmares is better than this one?
I mean, this one's out of the first Halloween is my favorite slasher movie still.
We're not talking
So-
about William Shatner. We're talking about the pedophile conversation here.
I'm just putting that out there because then I would say Friday the 13th Part 4 is my second favorite slasher movie.
Okay, so look, you
Um,
can put it out there, but then you take it right back. We're going back to Freddy. So,
So I would say I like Friday the 13th 4 more than the Freddy movies. I like Friday the 13th 2 more, and then I like Nightmare on Elm Street 1 probably after that.
and then Part 6 for Jason.
I'm trying to think of the Freddy movies.
I watch Dream Warriors the most of Freddy, which is Part 3.
Dream Warriors.
Like
is
I see,
fun.
because Yeah,
Yeah, I
that one
just
came on Sci-Fi Channel one time, and I watched it. I'm like, hey, this isn't so bad. Then I watched the original one. I was like, holy shit, this is scary.
I know people
Yeah,
like consider like
I'd probably say I like New Nightmare would be, and then 6. I really like
Okay.
New Nightmare, which is part 7 of.
yeah. Yeah, I hear
Yeah, so that's part
Elm
7,
Street,
and then they
Elm
had
Street 5 and 6 are just like freaking terrible. Like they're really bad.
Yeah, they're not good. Two's
Uh,
better
fucking-
because it still has that newness for Freddy, but it's still pretty rough too.
hmm
Part 4 is the one that made the most money for Nightmare. This is like peak MTV Freddy, and it made like $45 million.
This is when they
Or
were
some
like
shit like
slapping.
that.
He was like basically like being used in commercials for shit and everything, right? So like he was like,
part 4 is
Yeah.
where he's like just the character by then, but it's still a
Gotcha.
fun movie.
yeah, that's by then I guess he's like more like silly, goofy type Freddy, not. I know he cracks jokes and stuff obviously in the first one, but it's not like he's still.
It's like sinister in the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And then before that, he cracks kids. You know what I'm saying?
To be fair, they don't bring in the that part of it until later in the series.
Well,
Even
they
though-
never even call him a pedophile until the reboot, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really they didn't want to toe that line. They're
Yeah.
like, he's a child killer. I make
Yeah.
the joke that he's a pedophile because it's kind of implied, but he's a child killer. Like he's just like, oh, there's a kid, stab. There's a kid, stab. It's not like there's a kid, fondle, then stab. That's what he did in the other one. So it's like, whoo, that reboot was rough. Man, I feel bad for James, the guy who played him.
dude, I don't.
Oh
He
yeah,
fucking
guy-
Jackie Early Jones or Haley or whatever.
learning about that situation. Like, I was excited when they announced it because like Robert Englund was like, oh yeah, I give him like my blessing and all this shit, and people are like, yeah, Jackie Earle Haley, he's gonna be great. And then I found out apparently he had never watched Nightmare on Elm Street until like a few days before filming. He had already gotten the part, never seen any of the movies. Then he watched them and he's basically like, oh yeah, I don't like these movies at all. But I was like, why are you trying to portray one of the most iconic horror villains of all time? I guess that
Because he
paycheck
was
too
coming
good.
off of The Watchmen as Rorschach, and his
Yeah.
his stardom has like it blossomed. 'Cause he was a kid on Bad News Bears, like the original one,
Mhm.
and then like, I mean, I guess he had done other things, but his career kind of faltered. Then he had that spot in Rorschach, and he's the best part of the Watchmen movie. But anyway, everyone, that was a fun conversation. Alex, thank you so much for joining the show. Hopefully, this will jumpstart you guys wanting to record more of I'll Take Three, because it was a pretty good show, pretty unique little show.
Thanks.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, I try
I'm
to
gonna
plug
text
you
him.
guys all the time. I try to plug you guys all the time. Like, oh fuck, just hey, I'll Take Three, and you guys quit recording. Like, it's been what 9 months since the last episode dropped. It's like,
Yeah,
ooh, I
something
just
like
had
that.
a baby.
And we still recorded episodes back then that never came out. So
Oh Lord! But if you guys end up doing Predator, I would love to be on that episode. Just let me know. I can watch that movie in 2 hours and pop on.
Alex,
Well, I
how
was-
many months did
Are
you
you-
say?
oh my gosh, I don't know.
I thought you said.
I can pull it up right now on
said
Spotify.
3 months. I thought you had a.
I'll
No, I
take
said 9 months.
3 months.
And I was about to say.
It's been a lot
I was
longer
about
than
to
that.
say that's the 3 that you guys took. You guys took 3 months.
No, our last episode came out in
Oh
January.
damn.
So it's been, and before that, our last episode came out in November. We really messed things up there. But I was texting them the other day, texting Jake, and I was like, "Hey, let's record next weekend." So, are you doing anything next weekend? Maybe if I can talk him into it.
Nah, even if I have to work, I'm always off on like by 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. So just hit me up and
see
I'll
if
be
I
on
can
there.
Get him into it.
It's just so funny because it's like it's not
Tell him
like
to-
you know.
tell him
So
to put
Owen
that
lives in.
paintbrush down and get to fucking recording.
Exactly. I think Kristen and I got a little burnout on it, and then Jacob got burnout too. But Jacob's the one who edits it, so like we're waiting for him to help get things moving.
Well, just tell him this, guys. It's been 8 months. Shit or get off the pod. So. But no, Alex, thank you so much for watching the movie and getting on here and talking about Friday the 13th. Cody, you surprise me every time with your bad opinions, but I do appreciate you and your work. I'm just kidding, Cody. I love you, Snuggle Bears. Anyway, I just watched Deadpool 2, and he does that to Pete. He goes, "How I'm gonna take care of you, Pete Bear," or some shit like that. Owen, thank you very much. Everyone, you are listening to us. Subscribe to us on Spotify and YouTube. Not and or, but pick one. Listen to us on YouTube. It's probably easier. Spotify eats up your battery. I get it. Don't want to use the app. Joe Rogan's got that thing kind of nailed down, so we can't take over Spotify like we wanted to. So, but anyway,
We have to go on Joe Rogan.
at Filmoscopy. Joe Rogan's got us three on there. The guys from Filmoscopy podcast. So how many subscribers you got? We got 18. Holy shit, man! You guys are great. You want to hit this joint? Sure, why not? So, aliens, am I right? Anywho, but yeah, just Filmoscopy podcast. Put that in your Google machine. Hit the enter button. Make sure you're in incognito mode. It's gonna pull up on YouTube. It's gonna pull up on Spotify. It's gonna pull up on iTunes. And I think that's it. I don't even think we were on Google Pods because I was trying to get on Google Pods. Anyway, everyone, thank you for listening. And finish him.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.